Chapter 714. Zhao Feng scanned over the Golden Kuan's sacred lightning body and the 5-elemental wind lightning technique. The requirements to cultivate these two techniques were much lower than the original inheritance. On the other hand, the power of the inheritance had increased. The Golden Kuan's sacred lightning body had surpassed the original Golden Kuan's sacred body by an entire level. Ridiculous! The child demigod clenched his fists as jealousy and unwillingness filled his heart. In the past, he gave the Golden Kuan's sacred body to Zhao Feng because he was sure that Zhao Feng wouldn't be able to cultivate it to the late stages within 1,000 years. However, Zhao Feng used his soul to absorb the God Tribulation lightning. And now, after fusing with the Golden Kuan's sacred lightning body, the cultivation technique's level had risen, and the cultivation requirements had been lowered. Furthermore, it had formed a connection with the Tao of lightning. I forgot to tell you, the Golden Kuan's sacred lightning body and the 5-elemental wind lightning technique are complementary techniques. The scholarly elder reminded, the Golden Kuan's sacred lightning body was a body-strengthening technique, but it needed the 5-elemental wind lightning technique to help it. If one didn't cultivate the 5-elemental wind lightning technique, it would be very difficult to cultivate the Golden Kuan's sacred lightning body. This fusion-optimized cultivation technique is indeed different. Zhao Feng used his God's spiritual eye to copy all the content. However, the smile on his face didn't last long. That was until he saw the direction of the 5-elemental wind lightning technique. The 5-elemental wind lightning technique is split into 12 levels. The first 3 levels are the foundations of wind lightning. From the 4th level onwards, one starts to cultivate the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. The 10th level is the endless cycle of the 5 elements. Zhao Feng's eyebrows furrowed tightly. The 5-elemental wind lightning technique did indeed surpass the wind lightning inheritance. However, Zhao Feng's wind lightning inheritance had reached the late stages, and it was on a completely different path from the 5-elemental wind lightning technique. If I cultivate the 5-elemental wind lightning technique, doesn't that mean I have to recultivate it? Zhao Feng's face twitched. That's right. You have the foundation of the wind lightning inheritance, and you'll be able to surpass yourself in 10 years if you cultivate the 5-elemental wind lightning technique again. The elegant old man did not deny it. 10 years? Black lines appeared on Zhao Feng's forehead. 10 years was nothing to an ordinary person. However, it had only been 10 years since Zhao Feng started cultivating. If things were peaceful now, Zhao Feng would definitely be willing to recultivate the 5-elemental wind thunder technique and complement it with the Golden Kuan's sacred body. After all, these 2 sets of cultivation technique inheritances could allow him to go further. But now, Zhao Feng was facing the pursuit of death. Where would he have the time to cultivate again? There is indeed nothing perfect in this world. The child demigod felt a little better, and he started to gloat. Zhao Feng's current situation was like sitting on a mountain of treasure, but he didn't have the time to dig it out. All of a sudden, Zhao Feng's expression was uncertain. After a long while, he took a deep breath and made a decision. At this stage, it was impossible for him to recultivate the 5-elemental wind thunder technique and the Golden Kuan's sacred body. This was unrealistic. I can only think about it after the pursuit of death is over. Zhao Feng's emotions started to calm down. Even a demigod would be jealous of him being able to enter the city of the Heaven's legacy race. Zhao Feng expressionlessly walked out of the Divine Techniques Palace. It's only been 10 years. Young people nowadays are too impulsive. The elegant male sent Zhao Feng off with his eyes and couldn't help but shake his head. Within the city of steel, Zhao Feng slowly walked forward and started to tidy up his ancient metal ring. The interior of the ancient iron ring was empty. More than 90% of the vast amount of resources and precious materials of the past were gone. He was extremely poor right now, and he could only sigh as he looked at this city of the Heaven's legacy race filled with fortune. Several days later, within the 10,000 blood palace, 100 cursed ghost corpses have all been strengthened to the 10,000 withering ghost bone bloodline. The female in blood-colored light said with a smile. Zhao Feng inspected them one by one. These cursed ghost corpses were even skinnier, and they were like dry skeletons. However, The strength of these ghost corpses had more than doubled compared to 7 days ago. After merging with the 10,000 withering ghost bone bloodline, their survivability had increased dramatically. Even if they were destroyed, they could still be repaired. Furthermore, as the bloodline merged with them, the cultivation of these ghost corpses also started to increase. Up until now, the cultivation of these ghost corpses was between the late stage and peak small origin core realm. This was enough to sweep across the Azure Flower continent and the 10 great clans. The skeletal division leader had also merged with the 10,000 withering ghost bone bloodline, and it was even stronger. Master. The skeletal division leader was filled with excitement. It never thought that it would have such a day. Even the Scarlet Moon demonic religion from back then couldn't be compared to the ghost cursed array. If it wasn't for Zhao Feng, it wouldn't have been able to reach this step. Zhao Feng nodded his head in satisfaction and put away the ghost cursed array. I still have less than 10% of the resources left. Zhao Feng's eyes spun. His gaze soon landed on the little thieving cat. The little thieving cat's bloodline was definitely not weak, and it shouldn't be any weaker than the 10,000 ancient races. Can you check the origin of this cat's bloodline? Zhao Feng asked. Hee, I'm also very interested in this cat's origin. I'll give it to you for free. The female smiled and said. Even the child demigod revealed a curious expression. Ever since he had revived, he had been bullied by this cat and couldn't even raise his head. If he could find out the origin of this cat, he would have a way to deal with it in the future. Thinking up to there, the child demigod started to look forward to it. Meow meow. The little thieving cat walked in front of the multi-armed machine. A sharp needle extended from the multi-armed machine and stabbed into the little thieving cat's body. However, several breaths passed, and the multi-armed machine didn't give an answer. All of a sudden, the multi-armed machine shuddered and stopped its examination. The female revealed a shocked expression as she inspected the little thieving cat in disbelief. Heaven's legacy cat, mysterious bloodline, top secret, the multi-armed machine said emotionlessly. Heaven's legacy cat? Zhao Feng and the child demigod looked at each other. They hadn't heard of this race before. Sorry, this is top secret. The female seemed to know something, but she couldn't say it. Meow. The little thieving cat had a smug expression as it returned to Zhao Feng's shoulder. The female had a complicated expression as she looked at the weird combination of a human, a child, and a cat. She couldn't detect Zhao Feng's eye bloodline at all. There was a bit of information about the little thieving cat's bloodline in the database, but it was top secret. Thank you. Zhao Feng said goodbye to the female in bloody light. After walking out of the 10,000 Blood Palace, Zhao Feng started to think. He still had less than 10% of his resources left, and he didn't know if they could be used. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, Zhao Feng thought. How was he going to spend the last 10% of his resources? After leaving this time, he might not have another chance to enter a city of the Heaven's Legacy race. An hour later, Zhao Feng arrived at the array tower. The array tower provided customization and refinement of arrays. Zhao Feng's goal was to improve the Ghost Corpse Cursed Array. After all, the Ghost Corpse Cursed Array was created by the Purple Saint Partial Spirit, and its potential was almost at its limit. Guess from afar, what service do you need? A female wearing a gown smiled and asked. Zhao Feng went straight to the point and stated his intentions. He took out the diagram of the Ghost Corpse's formation and placed a cursed 100 corpses on it. This isn't hard. The female gave off a noble aura and soon agreed. However, the last 10% of Zhao Feng's resources were used up. Several hours later, a brand new Ghost Corpse Cursed Array landed in Zhao Feng's hands. The new Ghost Corpse Cursed Array's strength has increased by 60%, and it has the ability to trap, kill, and hallucinate. The female said confidently. Great! The skeletal division leader was extremely excited after receiving the array. After walking out of the array tower, Zhao Feng touched his empty ancient metal ring and couldn't help but let out a long sigh. I wonder if I'll have the chance to come here again in the future? Zhao Feng wanted more. A human, a child, and a cat left this ancient city of steel. After stepping out of the barrier, Zhao Feng's expression froze. Outside the city of steel, demonic hell vines covered the sky. In just a short 10 days, the outside world had been replaced by the demonic hell vines. There are actually 8 demonic hell vine kings. Zhao Feng sensed the demonic hell vine king. He controlled and knew what was happening. The strength of the 8 demonic hell vine kings had all reached the limit of a king. Without saying anything, Zhao Feng opened his eye bloodline and controlled the other 7 demonic hell vine kings. Half a day later, Zhao Feng left the ocean of vines and took out 8 ice bottles. Each of the 8 bottles had a demonic hell vine king sealed within them. Of course, the ocean of vines didn't stop. A few days after Zhao Feng left, the ocean of vines almost reached the Heaven's Legacy race city. Several large metal battleships flew out of the Heaven's Legacy race city. Each of them was several hundred yards long. Many strange Ryukyus fell from the warships. The Ryukyus transformed into terrifying black flames that quickly destroyed the sea of vines, leaving only ashes behind. At this moment, Zhao Feng had returned to the center of the island zone. He looked at the secret dimension and felt that the secrets here weren't limited to the Heaven's Legacy race city. However, the secrets of the Heaven's Legacy race were only the tip of the iceberg. Maybe Zhao Feng's search was only the tip of the iceberg. However, the secret of the Pirate Emperor had finally been revealed. Tens of thousands of years ago, the Pirate Emperor was lucky enough to find this Heaven's Legacy secret dimension, but he wasn't able to completely control this place even though he was a Mechanisms Grandmaster and Array Grandmaster. After the Pirate Emperor died, he used this Heaven's Legacy secret dimension to set up his inheritance. If it weren't for the fact that this was the foundation of the Heaven's Legacy secret dimension, the Pirate Emperor's inheritance wouldn't be so grand. Even emperors and sacred lords wouldn't be able to force their way in. At the center of the 18 Corners Canyon, a 1,000-yard-tall whirlpool created a terrifying power of heaven and earth that could crush anything. The Pirate Emperor's inheritance is about to end. The Yin-Yang Lord's voice sounded from the ship of death. At this moment, apart from Wenlon and the Yin-Yang Lord, there were 2 other Death Spirit Lords on the ship. One was male, and the other was female. They were covered in darkness. 3 Death Spirit Lords, 26 Death Guards, and Master will be here in a few days. Zhao Feng, let's see how you'll escape this time. A cold smile appeared on Wenlon's face. Chapter 7:15. Heaven's Legacy Secret Realm, Central Island Zone. This was the Pirate Emperor's inheritance sacred land. By the time Zhao Feng returned, a new pirate king had been appointed to each of the 18 peaks. The cultivation of some of the newly promoted pirate kings had obviously increased. Among them, 2 or 3 new half-step kings had broken through to Void God Realm under the inheritance's power. In the center of the 18 isolated mountains, the huge mountain was covered in a strange black and white light. A huge invisible force field isolated everything from the outside world. The Cold Moon King's inheritance isn't over yet? Zhao Feng found a corner and sat down cross-legged, squinting his eyes. According to previous experience, the Pirate Emperor's inheritance usually didn't last for more than half a month. He wasn't in a rush, and he sat down to familiarize himself with his bloodline power. A faint layer of blue scales appeared on Zhao Feng's body, and they were exquisite and bright. The blue-lined blood within his body started to circulate. The Ice Imperial Spear had merged into the new 10,000 ancient races bloodline. My bloodline power, the Ice Imperial Spear has been strengthened. Zhao Feng was very satisfied. Although he didn't obtain any inheritance or resources from the Pirate Emperor's inheritance, it was a great fortune to be able to enter the Heaven's Legacy race city. Zhao Feng hated himself for not having enough resources. From the Purple Saint Ruins to the Demigod Forgotten Garden, he had used up all the resources he had accumulated. Of course, compared to what he had obtained, this was more than enough. The bloodline of the 10,000 ancient races was priceless. Furthermore, Zhao Feng had also obtained the 5 elemental wind lightning technique and the Golden Kuin's sacred lightning body. Apart from that, the Ghost Corpse Cursed Array and the Ghost Corpse Cursed Array had all been strengthened. Meow. The little thieving cat played with the Shadow Kill Imperial dagger on the side with a satisfied expression. Little thieving cat. The child demigod appeared and started to communicate with the little thieving cat. Meow meow. The little thieving cat nodded its head and started to move around the central island zone with the child demigod. The central island zone that had just calmed down became chaotic once more. The two little fiends began to plunder the resources of the pirates on the central island. Zhao Feng frowned but didn't stop him. He understood that the child demigod was worried about the lack of resources and was working with the little thieving cat. As long as he didn't go too far, Zhao Feng would turn a blind eye to it. After all, these pirates were not good people either. In just half a day, the child demigod and the little thieving cat managed to steal a sizable amount of resource crystals. On the other hand, there was a wave of panic on the island. The pirates were furious and unwilling. Among them, several pirate kings were knocked unconscious, and their resources were all plundered. "Master, this is half of what you deserve." The child demigod gave half of the resources to Zhao Feng. The remaining resources would be split between him and the little thieving cat. These two little fellows actually know how to bribe? Zhao Feng's expression changed. However, a moment later, the giant shark king led 4 or 5 kings and a group of pirate experts over. "Zhao Feng, your cat and servant are robbing all over the island and don't care about their factions." The giant shark king and the other pirate kings came. Zhao Feng glared fiercely at the little thieving cat and the child demigod. Not only did these two fellows rob the pirates under the giant shark king's faction, they also dragged in the subordinates of the cold moon king's faction. After all, these pirate forces were extremely complicated. It was impossible for the little thieving cat and the child demigod to recognize all of them. "You pirates fight and kill each other on the island, bullying the weak with your strength. My pet cat and servant are just participating in your game," Zhao Feng said calmly. The expressions of the pirates froze. In order to fight for resources and fortune, they would kill each other on the same side, but they didn't dare to do it so openly. The child demigod snickered, "You ignorant pirates. If it weren't for Master and me, would you have been able to open the pirate emperor's inheritance so smoothly?" The older pirate kings were speechless. In the battle against Emperor Mu Yun, Zhao Feng and the child demigod had played a crucial role. "I'll give the pirate emperor's inheritance to you without taking a single cent. I'm giving you young pirates a chance to stand out," Zhao Feng said in a serious tone. Hearing that, the two newly promoted pirate kings were speechless. Zhao Feng and the child demigod didn't touch the pirate emperor's inheritance and gave it to the pirates. "Of course, if any of you aren't happy, you can find me to teach you a thing or two." Zhao Feng sat cross-legged the entire time. The faint undulations of soul power and bloodline power radiating from his body made the hearts of the pirates feel like they were in an icehouse. The giant shark king's expression kept on changing. The Zhao Feng in his vision was becoming more and more unfathomable. This included the golden-skinned child and the mysterious little thieving cat. One had to know that this weird combination didn't even bother with the pirate emperor's inheritance. "Zhao Feng, since you're willing to take on the sins of the cat and servant, then take a punch from me. Let's see if you have the ability to protect them," the giant shark king said in a deep tone. "Hee hee, giant shark king, there's no need to beat around the bush if you want to test my strength." Zhao Feng laughed. The giant shark king wanted to punish him, but he didn't know Zhao Feng's true strength. This was especially true when Zhao Feng disappeared from the island a few days ago. Good. You're indeed honest. I, the giant shark king, will test your true strength." The giant shark king laughed. So, Zhao Feng and the giant shark king stood in the middle of an empty area. There was no one else within a few hundred yards. "Ancient giant power!" The giant shark king roared. His dead, shell-like skin swelled and expanded. His body started to expand, and he turned into a half-human half-shark that was twice the size of a normal person. Boom! He punched out, and the surrounding void seemed to be faintly shaking. The bloodline aura of an ancient giant shark and terrifying physical strength caused the nearby pirates' bloodlines to tremble. The giant shark king's punch is just a test. He didn't use any domain power. Zhao Feng's expression was normal. The giant metal fist in his field of vision started to glow with a gray light and became even bigger than a millstone. The terrifying power of this punch was enough to kill a normal king. Then let's try. Zhao Feng stood where he was and circulated his blue-patterned blood. His body was covered in a layer of beautiful blue scales that looked like the scales of the ancient dragon race, but they were exquisite and exquisite. In that instant, with Zhao Feng as the center, an extreme cold energy froze everything within 10 miles. Some of the weaker pirates were instantly frozen. The giant shark king's ancient punch had yet to even get close when his body started to freeze. An ancient and domineering cold aura caused his soul to tremble slightly. The giant shark king's ancient shark bloodline started to tremble uneasily as if it was being suppressed. That bloodline, could it be? The giant shark king exclaimed. Bam! Zhao Feng's scale-covered palm was covered in a layer of half-transparent blue light and blocked the giant shark king's fist. The fist and palm were tightly pressed together. The terrifying physical strength caused cracks to appear on the ground within a 10-mile radius. A crack half a yard wide started to spread with the two at the center. This was the pirate emperor's inheritance, sacred land. If this was the outside world, this power would be able to level a normal island. Boom! Zhao Feng and the giant shark king were pushed back by the rebound. The two didn't seem to be injured. The giant shark king's arm was covered in a layer of frost and seemed slightly stiff. 10,000 ancient races bloodline, you actually... The giant shark king was stunned. In that instant just now, Zhao Feng's bloodline suppressed his giant shark king's bloodline. He could only use 50 to 60% of his bloodline's power. The physical strength that Zhao Feng displayed wasn't much weaker than his. If it weren't for the fact that the giant shark king had a big advantage in terms of cultivation and bloodline awakening, he might have lost just now. This Zhao Feng has a 10,000 ancient races bloodline? He hit it really well. The pirates on the field all turned pale with fright. A legendary bloodline of the 10,000 ancient races had appeared on this youth? As expected of the mystic ice-scaled race bloodline that's ranked in the top 100. He's able to fight against a peak-tier king 4 or 5 ranks higher. Although the giant shark king didn't use his domain or true yuan, it's still not enough. The child demigod sighed in his heart. Zhao Feng's cultivation was close to the peak Great Origin Core realm. Compared to the giant shark king, there were still half-step void god realms, early-stage void god realms, middle-stage void god realms, late-stage void god realms, and finally peak void god realms. Mystic ice-scaled race, ranked 89th in the immemorial mythical bloodline, the giant shark king took in a cold breath and couldn't calm himself down. One had to know that his bloodline wasn't simple either, and it was close to the 10,000 ancient races. In the battle against Emperor Mu Yun, he was the main force, and he was the only one that could fight against an emperor head-on. However, the rankings of the 10,000 ancient races were different. Most of the legendary bloodlines that came from the ancient races had already gone extinct. Although the 10,000 ancient races were called the 10,000 ancient races, there were only 1,000 or so races recorded. Every bloodline in the top 100 had heaven-defying abilities. Inheritance bloodline. Zhao Feng sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes. Some inheritance information appeared in his bloodline, including some bloodline secret techniques. Only a portion of this bloodline information had surfaced, but its brilliance had already surpassed the wind and lightning inheritance. Zhao Feng, we've underestimated you. The giant shark king took a deep breath and left the area with the other pirate kings. One had to admit that the current Zhao Feng had the battle power to fight against a peak-tier king. After all, he had the speed of wind lightning and his mysterious eye bloodline. The life force and recovery speed of the 10,000 ancient races' bloodlines were countless times stronger than normal bloodlines. Furthermore, the child demigod and the little thieving cat were both mysterious and didn't take action. As time passed, Zhao Feng's name spread across the island zone. At a certain moment, the black and white light on the mountain in the center started to retract. Following that, a perfect soul aura spread across the heavens and the earth, emitting a tremendous pressure. This aura. The hearts of the pirates on the island froze. A light flashed through Zhao Feng's eyes. The pirate emperor's main inheritance isn't to be underestimated. It seems like it has the ability to quickly become an emperor. The child demigod had a complicated expression as he looked toward the mountain in the center. In a layer of moonlight, there was a tall and slender icy beauty. She had a sword and blade on her back and a crown on her head. Her eyes were like crescent moons, and they were cold as she gazed at the mountains. Chapter 7:16. Greetings, Pirate Emperor. The pirates all knelt down and worshipped her. The Cold Moon King had already come out of the Pirate Emperor's inheritance. The sky was replaced by a layer of cold moonlight, as if she had entered a desolate world. The formless and immaterial cold moonlight was like mercury, pervasive and pervasive, permeating the void of heaven and earth. The pirate lords present felt as if their bodies were being cut by an icy blade. The coldness was like countless moonlight blades that pierced through the world of souls. If needed, she could disintegrate everything with just a thought. She's actually this fast? The giant Shark King was dazed, and the fear in his eyes was replaced by respect. More accurately, it would be more accurate to call the Cold Moon King that's Cold Moon Emperor. Peak Void God Realm. Her soul has evolved to the point of perfection, becoming as transparent as a mirror. She has fused with heaven and earth, reaching a highly ideal level. Zhao Feng's God's spiritual eye saw the changes in the Cold Moon King's body. The Cold Moon Emperor's spatial domain had merged with the heavens and earth nearby, making it impossible to find any flaws. Apart from that, the mysterious crown on the Cold Moon Emperor's head also caught Zhao Feng's attention. This mysterious crown seemed to have a mysterious connection with the 18 Corners solitary peak and the main peak in the middle. Not only had the Cold Moon King become an emperor, but the mysterious crown also gave her a protective power. Pirate Emperor. The reshuffled 18 Corners pirate kings stepped forward and expressed their loyalty, submitting one by one. The mysterious crown on the Cold Moon Emperor's head allowed her to command other pirate lords. Congratulations, Cold Moon Emperor. From now on, you will be the ruler of this pirate sacred land. The giant Shark King squeezed out a smile and bowed slightly. He, who was as strong as a peak-tier king, also submitted to the Cold Moon Emperor. The Pirate Emperor commanded the 18 Corners pirate lords and ruled the entire pirate sacred land. This was the rule of the pirate sacred land that had existed for tens of thousands of years. The Cold Moon Emperor stood at the peak in terms of both strength and authority. Zhao Feng. It's all thanks to you that we were able to succeed. The Cold Moon Emperor's eyes revealed a rare smile and gratefulness. With one step, the Cold Moon Emperor arrived next to Zhao Feng as if she had appeared out of thin air. Zhao Feng was astonished. Even a martial monarch shouldn't have the ability to cross thousands of miles with a single step. I've become the new Pirate Emperor and am protected by the power of the Pirate Emperor's sacred land. This time limit is 10 years, and within these 10 years, I cannot leave the 18 Corners pirate sacred land. The Cold Moon Emperor explained. Although the Pirate Emperor's inheritance could allow one to become a great emperor quickly, not every new Pirate Emperor could become a great emperor so quickly. Those who had just become the Pirate Emperor would receive the protection of the Pirate Holy Land. The Cold Moon King was a peak-tier king and had touched the level of an emperor, which was why she was able to become an emperor so easily. With the protection of the Pirate Emperor crown, the Cold Moon King didn't need to fear any emperor for 10 years. At this moment, buzz, an invisible suction force came from a huge whirlpool near the sea. None of the living beings in the outside world could resist that power. The Pirate Emperor's sacred inheritance is about to close. The Cold Moon Emperor ordered the 18 Corners pirate kings to leave the inheritance sacred land. Zhao Feng put away the ghost ship, sat on the Cold Moon Emperor's ship, and entered the whirlpool. In the outside world, at the center of the 18 Corners canyon rumble. At the center of the whirlpool, legendary pirate warships appeared one after another. The auras of monarchs and emperors surged out. After leaving the Pirate Emperor's sacred land, the strength of the pirate kings had increased. After entering the 18 Corners Canyon, Zhao Feng felt that the connection between the ghost ship and the pirate sacred land had been cut off. He was no longer restricted, and he could leave on the ghost ship whenever he wanted. Several thousand miles away, in the depths of the limitless ocean, a ship of death sank to the bottom of the ocean, and it was deathly silent. Reporting to the Death Spirit Lord, Third Highness, the pirates have all come out of the inheritance sacred land. A death guard half knelt on the side of the ship. Has Zhao Feng come out yet? Wen Luan's warm face was filled with impatience. Shua. At this moment, another death guard arrived in a flash. Reporting, there's bad news. A new pirate emperor has been born in the Pirate Alliance, and he's become an emperor. The death guard who came later said, Pirate Emperor. Void God Realm Emperor. The expressions of the Yin-Yang Lord and the other two Death Spirit Lords changed dramatically. The Pirate Alliance had many Void God Realm Kings, and there was even an Emperor Pirate Emperor. The situation wasn't looking good. The new Pirate Emperor will be protected by the Pirate Sacred Land, and he'll be hard to defeat. A female in black robes with a pale face was surrounded by a weird white flame. Her skin was pale white, and she was like a female ghost. She was also one of the Death Spirit Lords. The other Death Spirit Lord was a dark-skinned male whose body seemed to be weightless. He had a pair of dark green eyes that floated in the air. Witch King, Dark Soul King, tell your subordinates to retract the aura of the token of death. Death guards spread out. The Yin-Yang Lord ordered. A pirate emperor has appeared. Wen Lun had an unwilling expression. Not only could they not chase after Zhao Feng, but they also had to avoid him. We need to keep an eye on Zhao Feng now. Master's recuperation will be brought forward. In a few days, everything will be over. The Yin-Yang Lord's voice was deep and hoarse, and it seemed to contain Yin and Yang. Of the four Death Spirit Lords, the Yin-Yang Lord was a peak-tier king, and he was the strongest. I must take revenge. The Black Hell King died for me once, and he still hasn't recovered. Wen Lun clenched his fists as killing intent flashed through his eyes. So, Wen Lun had used a special method to bring a Death Spirit Lord into the Demigod Forgotten Garden. However, the laws of the Demigod Forgotten Garden were extremely strong, and other external forces couldn't come out. In the final explosion, the Black Hell King that he brought along withstood the devouring power of the Forbidden Core and was directly annihilated. At that time, Wen Lun's cultivation dropped because of this. Although the Black Hell King had a wisp of his consciousness left, he still hadn't recovered. Therefore, only 3 Death Spirit Lords were sent out for this pursuit of death. Bear with it for now. When Zhao Feng leaves the Pirate Emperor's sacred land or when the Emperor arrives, everything will end. The Pale White Witch King tried to persuade him. At the center of the 18 Corners Canyon, Zhao Feng, are you really not going to come to my banquet? I still owe you a favor. I haven't had time to repay it. The Cold Moon Emperor said with a smile. Only when her gaze landed on Zhao Feng did a rare smile appear on her cold face. Her expression was slightly mischievous, as if she was looking at a little brother. Respectable Pirate Emperor, this subordinate has urgent matters to attend to and can't stay any longer. Please understand. Zhao Feng said half-jokingly. Although his words were respectful, it wasn't respectful at all. After the life-and-death battles of the Pirate Emperor, the two of them had fought side by side and developed a kind of friendship. All right, I won't force you. If you have any trouble in the future, you can come and find me. I won't be leaving the 18 Corners Pirate Sacred Land in the next 20 years. The Cold Moon Emperor was slightly disappointed. Normal pirate emperors wouldn't stay as a pirate emperor for the rest of their lives after becoming a Void God Realm Emperor. Emperors pursued the pinnacle of the Tao and the true meaning of eternal life. The heavenly divine realm was their goal. The benefits of slaughter would become less and less attractive to emperors. Of course, due to the pirate crown, the Cold Moon Emperor had to stay for at least 10 years. She had some feelings for the pirate sacred land and would stay for 10 to 20 years before leaving in search of a higher realm. Goodbye. Zhao Feng didn't plan to stay. So, the ghost ship flew through the air and disappeared from the Pirate King's sight. This Zhao Feng is really hard to see through. From the start, he didn't care about the position of Pirate Emperor or Pirate King. The golden-haired male and bearded middle-aged man sent the ghost ship off with their eyes. You can't see through him, but neither can I, including that golden-skinned child and the mysterious cat. The Cold Moon Emperor murmured. Zhao Feng's arrival had not only allowed them to fight side by side, he had also changed her life and destiny. Her life was completely different now that she had become a Void God Realm Emperor. A day later, the ghost ship flew a long distance and arrived at the edge of the 18 Corners Pirate's sacred land. Master, the new Ghost Corp's cursed array has been completed. The skeletal division leader reported a piece of good news. Within the captain's room, Zhao Feng sat cross-legged, but his eyebrows were furrowed with a solemn expression. Little Kuan Yun, do you feel it? Zhao Feng suddenly spoke. Indeed, we seem to have been targeted. At the start, I thought it was the pirates, but now we're about to leave the 18 Corners Pirate's sacred land. The child demigod nodded his head and said, Meow meow. The little thieving cat also came out and threw a few old bronze coins onto the ground. The child demigod's expression didn't change as he looked at the little thieving cat. This little thieving cat's name was Heaven's Legacy Cat in the Heaven's Legacy race's underwater city. However, this type of cat had never been heard of in the 10,000 ancient races or in some famous bloodlines of the future. The Heaven's Legacy race is split into the Heaven-defying faction and the Sage faction. This cat knows divination. Could it be related to the Sage faction? The child demigod said deeply. At this moment, Zhao Feng snickered coldly as he disappeared from the ghost ship. Shwa. Zhao Feng stood on the deck, but his gaze landed on the depths of a limitless ocean 1,000 miles away. At this moment, not good, I've been found. A shadow-like figure of death, like a shadow, swept out from the ocean of the void. Seeing that he had been found, the Death Guard turned into a dark streak of light that shot through the limitless ocean. My speed is comparable to a king's for a short amount of time. There's still hope for reinforcements. This Death Guard was ranked in the top 10 of the 36 Death Guards. As he flew, he used the token of death to send a message. With a spurt of energy, he flew nearly 10,000 li before he heaved a sigh of relief. We've finally escaped. According to the latest news, the target of death has killed domain-level kings and even ambushed an emperor. The Death Guard murmured with lingering fear. However, right at this moment, a layer of scarlet lightning appeared in the sea of mist in front of him. It revolved around a young man with lightning wings and a sneer on his face. How is this possible? It's you? The Death Guard's expression changed dramatically. What kind of speed did the target of death have to have been waiting for him for a long time? Chapter 717. Zhao Feng was surrounded by a layer of scarlet lightning as he looked at the Death Guard in front of him mockingly. The Emperor of Death had 4 Death Spirit Lords and 36 Death Guards. If it was 2 or 3 years ago, this would be a nightmare for Zhao Feng. Back then, Zhao Feng couldn't even run away from the Death Guard, who was ranked last. He had to pay a heavy price to barely win. And now, shock and fear appeared in the Death Guard's eyes as the latest information about his target appeared in his mind. Most likely no one among the 36 Death Guards could fight back against this youth. His opponent's speed made him feel helpless. There are no reinforcements nearby. I won't be able to escape. This Death Guard had been through hundreds of battles and didn't lose his calm. Demonic Batwing Shadow. The Death Guard gritted his teeth, and his true yuan started to burn. His shadow-like figure started to expand and turn into a flaming bat. When it spread its wings, it was 10 yards wide, like a demonic bat. The demonic bat's aura was brutal and bloodthirsty, and it released a sharp mental energy sound wave that reached the soul dimension. Zhao Feng's expression changed. This Death Guard had risked his life and reached the level of a king in a short amount of time. Furthermore, the demonic bat's speed was extremely fast. Even normal kings wouldn't be able to dodge it easily. Zhao Feng snickered coldly as he reached out with one hand. One boom. All of a sudden, a king's might appeared in the air and enveloped the bat demon wings. The latter's speed was instantly reduced. This was the difference between kings and those below the Void God realm. Bang bang bang. Immediately after, a huge crimson claw of light descended from the sky, surrounded by wind and lightning, and grabbed the demon wing bat. It can't resist at all. The Death Guard's heart shook, and his consciousness seemed to be locked in the air. He realized that Zhao Feng wasn't able to kill domain-level kings by luck. If I can't escape, then? A hint of madness appeared in the Death Guard's eyes as his soul energy and veritable essence energy burned and expanded like a balloon being inflated. Hee, you want to self-destruct? Zhao Feng chuckled as his left eye focused. The next moment, a powerful surge of eye intent locked the Death Guard's body and soul in the air. What? The Death Guard had completely lost control of his body. He could not even think or move. Apart from the Emperor of Death, he had never seen such powerful eye intent. Soul search. A wicked soul fluctuation appeared from Zhao Feng's left eye and charged into the Death Guard's soul. With Zhao Feng's soul level and attainments in the Soul Dao, it was easy for him to use the soul-searching art. In fact, most Soul Dao techniques and mental energy techniques could be used even without an eye bloodline. However, with his eye bloodline, the power of the secret technique would be stronger, the speed of activation would be faster, and the consumption of mental energy would be the least. A breath or two later, with a wave of his hand, Zhao Feng unleashed the Scarlet Destruction Tempest and turned the Death Guard's body into ashes. The Death Guard's soul and physical body were destroyed at the same time. For example, although Zhao Feng defeated the Death Guard last time, due to the uniqueness of his Death Shadow body and the protection of the Token of Death, he wasn't truly killed. So that's how it is. Zhao Feng obtained some important information from the Death Guard through the soul-searching art. Among them was information on how to track down Zhao Feng. Since Zhao Feng's eye of death intent had been greatly worn down, the Death Guard's senses were extremely low. Adding on the fact that the 10,000 Divine Thoughts technique sealed off his aura, it was extremely difficult for the Death Guard and the Death Spirit Lord to sense him. This was especially true. Zhao Feng's soul absorbed the God Tribulation Lightning, which further destroyed the eye of death intent in his soul. Unless they were very close, the Token of Death wouldn't be able to sense Zhao Feng. The reason why the Pursuit of Death was able to find Zhao Feng was because of Emperor Mu Yun. Zhao Feng's void space eye contained a large amount of eye bloodline power and the aura of the Eye of Death. Emperor Mu Yun's body was touched by this aura and was discovered by the Yin Yang Lord. The Emperor of Death used the Gaze of Death across several island zones and took away Emperor Mu Yun's soul. Zhao Feng was stunned. Using such a forbidden technique across several island zones would expend dozens or even hundreds of times more energy. Furthermore, the target was the soul of an emperor. Luckily, the Emperor of Death's eye bloodline power hasn't recovered yet. He's still recovering. Zhao Feng felt lucky. If Emperor Mu Yun was just a small fry, the Emperor of Death wouldn't have to pay a high price even if he used the Gaze of Death from several realms away. He would still be able to chase after him in one go. Of course, normal pirates wouldn't be able to force Zhao Feng to use the Void Space Eye Sky-locking Bow. Zhao Feng opened his God's spiritual eye and scanned the limitless ocean as an ancient bow appeared in his hand. Mysterious hollow inscriptions appeared on the body of the dark silver bow. The silver light shone brightly, forming a three-dimensional tadpole-like living pattern. Zhao Feng pulled on the golden bow, and his purple hair blew in the wind. A sharp and dazzling golden arrow appeared on the bowstring, dragging a layer of scarlet destruction wind lightning behind it as it flashed and disappeared. In that instant, a sharp aura pierced through the air and broke through the restrictions of space. At the same time, several thousand miles away, a Death Guard's body froze as he exclaimed. A sharp aura that could pierce through all things locked onto his soul. Even the space around him seemed to sink, as if it was sealed by a mysterious power. With a flash of silver, a golden arrow seemed to appear from a crack in space and pierce through his body. Arg! The Death Guard screamed as he was destroyed by the golden light and scarlet destruction wind lightning. The deaths of 2 Death Guards obviously alerted the other Death Guards, including the 3 Death Spirit Lords. On the sailboat of death, we've been discovered. The Yin Yang Lord's voice was slightly solemn. According to the plan, they needed to keep an eye on Zhao Feng and wait for the Emperor of Death to come out of seclusion. That was the only way to ensure that nothing would go wrong. However, they were discovered by Zhao Feng as soon as they reached the edge of the 18 Corners Canyon. This was much faster than they had expected. All Death Guards, listen up. Surround the target of death. A voice that overlapped with yin and yang spread through the token of death to the limitless ocean tens of thousands of miles away. In just a few breaths' time, activate the encirclement plan. The other 2 Death Spirit Lords and the Death Guards all receive the news. Boom, boom. 2 King Intents flew over from the limitless ocean. The ghost ship that was flying through the air seemed to be suppressed by a mountain, and its speed decreased dramatically as if it had fallen into a swamp. At the same time, shadowy figures of the Death Guards flew over from the nearby Void Sea and surrounded the ghost ship. Some of the higher-ranked Death Guards were close to kings in terms of speed and strength. Apart from that, in another direction, the auras of 3 Death Spirit Lords swept over like a storm of death. Zhao Feng's expression changed slightly as he messaged, "Little Kun Yun, Little Thieving Cat, Skeletal Division Leader." If he was alone, Zhao Feng would definitely flee at all costs, not daring to continue fighting. No matter how strong he was, he wouldn't be arrogant enough to fight against 3 Death Spirit Lords, not to mention Wenlun, who had the strength of a king, and the Death Guards whose strength was between half-step kings and kings. However, things were different now. Zhao Feng wasn't fighting alone. He had powerful servants and spiritual pets. Skeletal Division Leader, set up the array. The Death Guards also have their own arrays. Zhao Feng ordered. As soon as he finished speaking, whoosh, a thick, gray cloud of ghost corpse flames enveloped an area of 10 li, within which appeared many sinister, blood-red eyes. What was different from before was that translucent red lightning chains could be vaguely seen in the Ghost Corpse formation. In the city of the Heaven's Legacy race, the Ghost Corpse cursed array had been perfected. Little Thieving Cat. Before Zhao Feng could say anything, the little thieving cat on his shoulder jumped out. Meow meow. In the sea of mist, only a silver-gray line could be seen. It flashed and disappeared. Zhao Feng knew that the little thieving cat had its own plans and was hiding. At this moment, the 3 Death Spirit Lords led more than 20 Death Guards and gave off an aura of death as they closed in. Within a radius of thousands of miles, the void ocean was completely silent. Zhao Feng and the ghost ship were surrounded. The 3 Death Spirit Lords and Wenlun surrounded Zhao Feng from 4 different directions. Each king had at least 4 or 5 Death Guards behind them. Although the Black Hell King isn't here, it's enough to activate the Death Spirit Hell Array. The Phantom King, whose body was like a phantom, couldn't help but lick his lips. As soon as he finished speaking, a blood-colored flag appeared in the hands of the Yin-Yang Lord, the Witch King, the Dark Soul King, and Wenlun. The 4 flags stood in the air, and each of them burned with a gray flame. They gave off ghostly cries that made one's hair stand on end. In an instant, the 4 flags flashed with a blood-colored light and grew to 100 yards tall, like 4 pillars that could reach the sky. Everything within dozens of miles was covered in a black and blood-colored light, and a gray flame could be faintly seen on the outside. Zhao Feng and company, as well as the Ghost Corpse cursed array, fell into a dark and bloodthirsty dimension. The Death Spirit Hell Array was more profound than the Ghost Corpse cursed array in some aspects, and it could form an independent spatial domain. The Death Spirit Hell Array has been completed. That brat won't be able to escape even if he has wings. The Witch King, whose skin was ghastly pale, was surrounded by a layer of strange white flames. She was like a female ghost king, extremely creepy and creepy. The Yin-Yang Lord, Wenlun, and company all revealed expressions of joy. The Death Spirit Hell Array was a deathly array created by the Emperor of Death. It required 4 Death Spirit Lords to guard the 4 sides in order to unleash its full power. Apart from that, each side had a number of Death Guards to support them. At its peak, this array could even challenge emperors. Even though Wenlun had replaced one of the Death Spirit Lords, there were less than 36 Death Guards, and it only had 70% of its full power. Apart from emperors, even peak-tier kings wouldn't be able to escape from the Death Spirit Hell Array at 70% of its full power. Activate the killing array. The Yin-Yang Lord roared. The 3 Death Spirit Lords and Wenlun all used a special technique as they slammed their palms onto the flag. Bush, bush, bush. Tens of thousands of blood-colored beams of light appeared in the black and blood-colored dimension, and they were like a rainstorm that sped back and forth. The blood-colored beams of light were extremely sharp, and each one could pierce through half-step void god realms and devour the essence of life forms. There were tens of thousands of these blood-colored threads of light, and they continuously pierced through. Even if it was a king, they would be riddled with holes and turned into a puddle of blood. All of this was restricted by the black and blood-colored dimension. A layer of gray flames condensed around the barrier that could even burn souls. Chapter 7:18. This is the Death Spirit Hell Formation? Zhao Feng and the child demigod felt their scalps go numb as they faced the tens of thousands of rays of blood-colored light. The important thing was, the few of them fell into the purgatory space domain formed by the Grand Array, and even their souls found it hard to break through. The enormous ghost corpse flame cloud was riddled with holes by the thousands of blood-colored light beams. Some of the cursed ghost corpses were even injured. If there were dozens or hundreds of them, they wouldn't be a threat to the ghost corpse cursed array. As the blood-colored light pierced through the ghost corpse flame cloud, its power rapidly decreased. However, there were too many rays of blood-colored light. They were like millions of rays of light piercing through the air. Even normal kings wouldn't be able to last more than a few breaths in the purgatory dimension, and their Yuan soul wouldn't be able to break through the gray flames. Soon, the 100 corpse formation's flame clouds dimmed, and thousands of holes appeared in them. Skeletal Division Leader, close the array. Zhao Feng ordered. The Skeletal Division Leader waved the array flag, and the ghost corpse cursed array shrank from 10 miles wide to 1 mile wide. Fortunately, the 100 corpses formation had been strengthened in Tianji City. Otherwise, the 100 corpses cursed formation would collapse in less than a dozen breaths. Sush, sush, kacha. Occasionally, a cursed ghost corpse would be pierced by the bloody light and fall apart. However, thanks to the 10,000 withering ghost bone bloodline, it would quickly heal itself. The 10,000 withering ghost bone bloodline's greatest specialty was its regenerative properties, followed by its defense. Its offensive power didn't increase by much. Not only did the ghost corpse cursed formation increase its power, but it also increased its survivability. When did that kid's ghost corpse formation become so powerful? The 3 Death Spirit Lords and the Death Guards were surprised. The Necromancy Purgatory formation was one of the strongest killing formations in the Myriad Forest spiritual region. Zhao Feng's ghost corpse cursed formation was able to withstand the storm of attacks for a short time inside the Death Spirit Purgatory formation. Don't worry, the ghost corpse formation will only last for the time it takes to brew a pot of tea. The Yin Yang King said. Even so, the 3 Death Spirit Lords were still astonished by the power of the ghost corpse formation. After all, the Great Ghost Corpse formation was controlled by a single person, and the Necromancy Purgatory formation was being maintained by such a huge formation. I'll let you have a taste of the true power of the Ghost Corpse formation. The Skeletal Division Leader waved the array flag with a cold expression. Whoosh! In an instant, 100 pairs of blood-red, malevolent eyes shot out terrifying psychic power attacks from within the ghastly mist and flaming clouds. Outside the Death Spirit Purgatory formation, the Death Guards were so shocked that their consciousness almost collapsed. Fortunately, the gray flames surrounding the Purgatory formation had the power to isolate souls. Otherwise, none of the Death Guards would have been able to resist the pressure of the 100 corpses' blood eyes. Some of the Death Guards had pale faces and barely managed to stabilize their souls. A few of those who were ranked at the bottom were mentally injured. This was just the beginning. Then, the ghost corpse flame cloud changed again. A giant bloody white hand reached out of the void and grabbed toward the Death Spirit Lord and the Death Guards outside the Purgatory formation. Bzz. The gray flames outside the Purgatory formation started to tremble slightly. This giant vengeful spirit hand is formed from the resentment of countless demonic beasts and experts that have been devoured. The Skeletal Division Leader snickered. Looking back at how many experts and beasts the Ghost Corpse Cursed Array had killed since it was created, there were many sovereigns and sovereign lords, and there were even some Void God Realm kings. A second blood-red hand reached out of the Ghost Corpse flame cloud. Then a third, then a fourth. The giant hand was formed from a unique curse, and the blood-colored light within the purgatory formation didn't affect it much. Only the gray flames outside could expend some of its power. The screams of the death guards came from outside the death spirit purgatory formation. Even if only half of the vengeful spirit hand's power seeped out, it would still be able to deal fatal damage to anyone below the void god realm. The expressions of Wenluan and the Yin-Yang Lord changed dramatically. Wenluan's soul was only half a level away from the void god realm. The giant hand of vengeful spirits had pierced through the formation, bringing with it a portion of the power of the curse and resentment, causing his mind to feel cold and uneasy. Dark Soul King. The Yin-Yang Lord suddenly spoke as he looked toward the ghost-like male on the other side. Child's play. The Dark Soul King snickered coldly as he controlled the array flag with one hand while a dark transparent light appeared on his other hand, which split into 4 and stabbed toward the giant hand. Bush, 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 bush. The 4 hands of the vengeful spirits were pierced through by the mysterious dark transparent threads of light, and then they were bound up layer by layer. Damn it! The skeletal division leader waved the array flag, but the 4 giant hands were unable to break free from the Dark Soul King's technique. The Dark Soul King's body was extremely unique. It was a ghost-like body. His attacks were also intangible, which countered the power of the curse to a certain extent. It's my turn. The sinister female voice came from the ghastly pale Witch King. She opened her pale and slender palm. Woo! A black hole appeared in the center of the pale white hand. What happened next caused everyone's hairs to stand on end. Dense green insects flew out of the pitch-black hole and rushed into the purgatory domain like a tide. The blood-colored light in the purgatory dimension created a path for the green insects to enter. In an instant, a river of insects appeared in the purgatory dimension and charged toward the ghost corpse cursed array. Bush, bush. A large hole appeared on the surface of the ghost corpse cursed array, and large patches of insect corpses turned into a pool of blood. Not good. These insects. The skeletal division leader cried out in fear. There were simply too many of them, and they started to eat the cursed ghost corpses after entering the array. Some even charged toward Zhao Feng and the child demigod. Destroy. The child demigod extended his hand and crushed some of the insects with a golden fist. With the flick of a finger, Zhao Feng's scarlet destruction wind lightning also annihilated hundreds of insects. However, the two found that these insects were impenetrable, and they were immune to both physical and soul attacks. And this was only the 2 of them, so their attacks were extremely unique. Normal Origin Core Realm Sovereign Lords or Half-Step Kings wouldn't even be able to kill 10 insects with one punch. Zhao Feng and the child demigod might be able to deal with the insects, but the skeletal division leader and the cursed ghost corpses would find it hard to deal with them. Fortunately, the corpse aura and resentment of the 100 corpses formation were effective against these flying insects. If it wasn't for that, the situation would be terrible. Little Kuan Yun, block that hole. Skeletal division leader, use the teleportation array to get close to Wenluan. Zhao Feng ordered. Little Kuan Yun shouted and struck out with a golden fist that was like a long river. It was like the light of destruction, annihilating a large number of flying insects. Shwa. The golden skin of a 3-year-old blocked the hole and dealt with the sea of insects. 10,000 couldn't get through. Ding, ding. Some of the green insects bit the child demigod and created sparks, but they were all turned into dust by the power of the golden Kuan's sacred body. This little toddler is so powerful. The 3 Dark Soul Lords looked at each other with surprise. They only knew a bit about this child recently, and there wasn't much information about him. Hushua. The skeletal division leader waved the array flag and controlled the ghost corpse cursed array toward Wenluan. Of the 4 kings, Wenluan's strength is the weakest. Zhao Feng's eyes twinkled. His intentions were extremely clear. There were 4 cores in the Death Spirit Hell formation, which were the 4 kings. As long as they killed Wenluan, the array's power would decrease by at least a quarter, and a flaw would appear. After all, the other 3 kings were all domain-level kings. The Yin-Yang Lord was a peak-tier king, but he hadn't done anything yet. Just the Dark Soul Lord and the Witch King alone put a lot of pressure on Zhao Feng and company. Bush, Push, push. As the ghost corpse cursed array pushed forward, the blood-colored beams of light continued to pierce through it. The speed at which they advanced was extremely slow. Master, if we can't break through the death spirit hell array within the time it takes to make tea, the ghost corpse cursed array will collapse, and we'll have to face the limitless power of purgatory. The child demigod also paid attention to the situation as he blocked the river of insects. Zhao Feng, don't struggle. The Yin-Yang Lord's voice shook everything within several hundred miles. At the same time, the figures of the four kings controlling the array flags spun rapidly, and a blood-colored whirlpool suddenly appeared in the dimension of purgatory. The whirlpool created a strong suction force. The four kings were already spinning, and they made the ghost corpse cursed array lose its target and direction. It was extremely difficult to capture Wenlun. Apart from that, the blood-colored beams of light created a lot of resistance. At this moment, there was a giant whirlpool in the center of the death spirit hell array. The blood-colored whirlpool contained a dominating and bloodthirsty power that could crush and devour normal void god realm kings. At this moment, Zhao Feng and company couldn't advance or retreat. It was extremely awkward whether they should advance or retreat. Right at this moment, the strongest, the Yin-Yang Lord, suddenly attacked. Yin-Yang Sky Seal. The Yin-Yang Lord's body started to flicker. Half was white, and the other half was black. The instant he raised his hand, there was a feeling that Yin and Yang had flipped over. A black and white seal of Yin and Yang appeared in the air above the blood-colored purgatory. The sky seemed to turn into a giant Yin-Yang hand. This intent was extremely domineering, and its control over heaven and earth was close to that of an emperor. Boom! The black and white seal of Yin and Yang descended from the sky and landed heavily on the ghost corpse cursed array. More accurately speaking, it was aimed at the gap in the child demigod's body. Boom! With a deafening explosion, the ghost corpse formation collapsed in half, and many of the cursed ghost corpses shattered into pieces. What? The child demigod flew back and spat out a mouthful of blood. This guy's even stronger than the giant shark king. The Yin-Yang Lord's battle power was extremely close to that of an emperor. He was the embodiment of invincibility against those below emperors. That attack had sent the child demigod, Zhao Feng, and the ghost corpse cursed array flying. As expected of the Yin-Yang Lord, he's managed to stall emperors several times in the past. The Dark Soul King and Witch King both had respectful expressions. Let's end this. The Yin-Yang Lord's expression was cold as he pushed the seal of Yin and Yang toward the ghost corpse cursed array. Not good. The skeletal division leader roared. The entire ghost corpse cursed array, including Zhao Feng and the child demigod, was pushed toward the center of the array, the whirlpool. Chapter 719. The blood-colored whirlpool was the center of the death spirit hell array, and its power could devour and refine void god realm kings. Boom! The Yin-Yang hand pushed the entire ghost corpse cursed array, including Zhao Feng, the child demigod, and the skeletal division leader. At the same time, a strong pulling force came from the whirlpool. Once we enter the whirlpool, the ghost corpse cursed array will be destroyed. Zhao Feng's heart shook. As long as the ghost corpse cursed array was destroyed, Zhao Feng and the child demigod would be able to withstand the attacks of the death spirit lords without anything to protect them. This was a moment of life and death. Little Kuan Yun. Zhao Feng roared as a pair of wind lightning wings appeared on his back. Understood. Kuan Yun and Zhao Feng were connected by the dark heart seed, so communication was extremely simple. Sky-destroying golden fist. The child demigod's demigod intent and fist intent merged together. The void where the purgatory formation was located had a faint feeling of shaking. With the naked eye, a magnificent golden fist light turned into a sharp, domineering light beam, and fiercely hit the yin-yang sky curtain where the giant handprint was located. Boom! A huge hole appeared on the yin-yang giant palm seal, and the distorted black and white sky suddenly trembled. This brat's fist intent seems to be even stronger than normal emperors. The Yin-Yang Lord was slightly surprised. Of course, the difference in cultivation was too big. The Yin-Yang Lord's battle power was unparalleled against anyone below the emperor level, and although the child demigod's fist intent was profound, It wasn't able to break through the Yin-Yang Lord's secret technique. The Yin-Yang giant palm imprint that had merged with the sky was barely contained, and most of its power was blocked. Bam! The child demigod was pushed back dozens of yards and almost spat out a mouthful of blood. The Yin-Yang Lord's strength and soul were extremely close to an emperor's. In a one-on-one fight, even if Zhao Feng used his eye bloodline, his chances of winning were very low. Master, not good. The skeletal division leader exclaimed. The ghost corpse cursed array was still being pulled toward the whirlpool. After all, the child demigod couldn't block all of the Yin-Yang Lord's attacks. At this moment of life and death, Thunderwing's wind flash. A streak of crimson lightning quickly reached the center of the blood-colored vortex. Ice Empress Seal. An icy blue spear appeared in Zhao Feng's palm. Like ice water, it turned into a huge ice mountain that glittered with icy brilliance. Boom! The outline of an ice crystal seal could be vaguely seen amidst the glittering ice, and it fell right on top of the bloody whirlpool. The entire Death Spirit Purgatory formation shook slightly. Buzz! The huge ice mountain was surrounded by ice crystal seals. When it crashed into the blood-colored vortex, it was devoured by a powerful force. The power of ice and the power of devouring clashed with each other. However, the icebound mountain seal was clearly at a disadvantage, and its aura was weakening. Seal. Zhao Feng's eyes were cold. His skin was covered in a layer of beautiful blue scales. A surge of extreme mystic ice power that originated from the ancient times merged into the ice-sealing mountain seal. In an instant, the frozen mountain with the ice imperial spear as its core seemed to have the tendency to solidify, and the power of the frozen mountain increased by twofold in a short period of time. With Zhao Feng as the center, everything in a radius of several miles turned to ice. Bush, bush, bush. The blood-colored beams slowed down when they neared Zhao Feng, and a layer of frost appeared on their surface. Their power decreased by 50 to 60% when they hit him. Ding, ding, ding. The blue scales on Zhao Feng's body were like the scales of an ancient ice dragon, and their defense was extremely strong. See, the blood-colored whirlpool under the icebound mountain seal started to solidify, and it almost stopped spinning. So close. The skeletal division leader stabilized the ghost corpse cursed array. The ghost corpse cursed array was only a couple dozen yards away from the whirlpool. Luckily, the whirlpool had been frozen for a short period of time, and the suction force had almost disappeared. That bloodline aura. The expressions of the kings controlling the array, especially Wenlun, changed dramatically. Wenlun's Heaven-Sun battle race bloodline started to tremble uneasily. 10,000 ancient races, the bloodline of the mystic ice-scaled race. How can he have it? The expressions of the three Death Spirit Lords and Wenlun changed. The cold, profound ice bloodline that originated from the ancient era caused the Death Spirit Lords and the Death Guards present to feel a hint of pressure from their bloodlines. After merging with the strengthened Ice Imperial Spear, Zhao Feng used his mystic ice-scaled race bloodline to freeze the whirlpool at the center of the Hell array. The power of the Necromancy Purgatory formation had also decreased. Zhao Feng roared as his faint purple hair blew in the wind. As soon as he said that, the child demigod and the skeletal division leader started to counterattack. The power of the Hell array was so great that Zhao Feng could only suppress the whirlpool for a few breaths, and that expended a lot of his bloodline power. The Yin-Yang Lord snickered coldly as the outline of a five-fingered mountain appeared in the sky and smashed toward the child demigod and the ghost corpse cursed array. The Dark Soul King and the Witch King didn't just stand there and used their secret techniques to suppress the whirlpool. The child demigod and the skeletal division leader were on the verge of collapse. Ding, ding, ding. Zhao Feng stood on the mountain and faced the attacks of the blood-colored light and the green insects. Lightning wings wind flash. Zhao Feng disappeared from the mountain and dodged the attack range of the yin-yang sky screen. It was obvious that he had given up on freezing the whirlpool. Shwa. As he flew, a powerful surge of eye intent surged through his left eye. Zhao Feng's left eye was a misty purple that seemed to hide a dreamy purple world. Watch out! That's Zhao Feng's eye bloodline technique. Wenlun exclaimed as his heart tensed up. Limitless maze. Zhao Feng's left eye locked onto the strongest Yin-Yang Lord. It was this peak-tier king that had suppressed them. The Yin-Yang Lord's heart shook as he was attracted by Zhao Feng's purple left eye. The environment around him suddenly started to change. Everything in his field of vision was shrouded in a misty maze. The Yin-Yang Lord snickered coldly as he focused his intent, and the scenery in front of him melted like snow. Both his intent and his soul were close to the level of an emperor, as expected of the leader of the 4 Death Spirit Lords. Furthermore, the gray flames on the outer layer of the purgatory array have the ability to block the soul. My eye bloodline technique has been weakened by 30 to 40%. Zhao Feng wasn't surprised. What he did just now was just a probing attack. His goal was to see how strong the purgatory array was against eye bloodline techniques. 60% is enough. Zhao Feng nodded his head faintly. At this moment, the Yin-Yang Lord easily broke through the limitless maze, and a cold smile appeared on his face. However, he soon felt that something was wrong. Zhao Feng's expression didn't change at all, and he even seemed to be smiling. "Don't. Watch out!" The Yin-Yang Lord exclaimed as he finally thought of something. His cultivation was the highest amongst everyone present, and he could block Zhao Feng's eye bloodline technique. However, that didn't mean the others could. Mental energy spike. A cold purple mental energy spike shot out from Zhao Feng's left eye and pierced through the gray flames on the outer layer of the purgatory array. 1. The gray flames weakened the mental energy spike by 30 to 40%. The remaining 60% of the mental energy spike pierced through Wenlun, who was controlling the array. "Arg!" Wenlun screamed. The pain in his soul was 100 times stronger than the pain in his physical body. Even the remaining 60% of the mental energy spike almost pierced through his soul and almost made him faint. Wenlun's soul intent was only close to that of a king. On the other hand, the mental energy spike was the most basic soul attack, and it was decided by the strength of the soul. The bigger the difference between the two, the more damage they would receive. The difference between Zhao Feng and Wenlun was huge. Even though the mental energy spike was weakened 30 to 40% by the purgatory array, it still had an overwhelming advantage. This mental energy spike heavily injured Wenlun's mind, causing a fatal injury. "Brat die!" The Yin-Yang Lord roared, and his peak-tier king intent charged toward Zhao Feng to stop the next wave of attacks. At the same time, the Witch King and the Dark Soul King also increased their attacks on Zhao Feng. Hee. Zhao Feng laughed lightly as he flapped his wings and entered the Ghost Corpse Cursed Array, splitting the attacks with the Child Demigod and the Ghost Corpse Cursed Array. How are your injuries?" The Witch King looked at Wenlun with concern. Wenlun's soul was being attacked, and he almost lost control of the flag. The power of the purgatory array started to decrease. Right at this moment, shwa! A dark silver illusory line flashed past, accompanied by a chilling blade of shadow. "Watch out!" The Witch King's heart jumped. However, her warning was too late. Shwa! A peculiar dagger that was as cold as a shadow pierced through Wenlun's heart. Woo! Wenlun tried to struggle, but his body went numb, and he fell into the limitless ocean. Meow meow! The little thieving cat waved the Shadow Kill Imperial dagger, and a wave of cold blades pierced through several death guards near Wenlun. Arg! The death guards nearby were pierced by the shadow blades, and their bodies stiffened as their life force was instantly erased. "Lun! Your Highness! Leave that cat behind!" The 3 Death Spirit Lords and the Death Guards exclaimed in shock. Now that the Death Spirit Purgatory formation had lost its core, its power had decreased sharply, and some flaws had appeared. Meow meow! The little thieving cat turned into a silver-gray streak and disappeared into the air. "Little thieving cat, good job." The pressure on Zhao Feng's Ghost Corpse Cursed Array decreased. Zhao Feng could tell that Wenlun was the weakness of the array when the Death Spirit Hell Array was first set up. Wenlun was the weakest of the 4 Death Spirit Hell Array. Zhao Feng first attacked the Yin-Yang Lord as a distraction. If the little thieving cat attacked the Yin-Yang Lord, the chances of success would be extremely low, and it might even be life-threatening. Zhao Feng's target was Wenlun, who was relatively weaker. He had successfully opened up a gap. Before the three Death Spirit Lords could react, the next round of attacks had already begun. Scarlet Destruction Eye Flame. A surge of eye bloodline flames appeared in Zhao Feng's left eye. A half-transparent scarlet eye bloodline flame radiated an aura of destruction, and the core of it contained a wisp of God Tribulation lightning. Boom! The ball of scarlet flames struck the Witch King like a scarlet flaming storm. Arg! The Witch King's pale white body was covered by the half-transparent scarlet destruction eye flame, and the aura of destruction and God Tribulation started to spread. Even though she was prepared, she still panicked from the berserk attack. 1. The Witch King's body was surrounded by a layer of strange white flames that intertwined with the exploding scarlet destruction eye flame. However, her ghost Dao flames were countered by the scarlet destruction eye flame, which contained the laws of God Tribulation lightning and destruction, and started to smoke before quickly dimming. Chapter 720. The scarlet destruction eye flame burned on the Witch King's body for 2 to 3 breaths before it was extinguished. Scorch marks were left on the Witch King's pale white body. These marks were hard to heal, and there was an aura that couldn't be erased. This terrifying aura wasn't just the aura of destruction contained within the scarlet destruction wind lightning. There was also a wisp of God Tribulation lightning. This was because Zhao Feng's soul had absorbed some wisps of God Tribulation lightning and merged some of its intent into the scarlet destruction wind lightning. His scarlet destruction eye flame was the most destructive eye bloodline technique, and it could pierce through both the physical and the soul dimensions. The damage it could cause was immeasurable. Unfortunately, the Death Spirit Hell Array. Zhao Feng was slightly regretful. His scarlet destruction eye flame had been weakened by 20 to 30%, and this was because he had lost one lung. Otherwise, his scarlet destruction eye flame would have been able to severely injure the Witch King and even kill normal kings. However, the Witch King was also a domain-level king and couldn't be underestimated. This Zhao Feng's eye bloodline has locked onto my soul. Even my spatial defense has been greatly reduced. The Witch King's body and soul were still experiencing waves of burning pain. The injuries from the destruction and God Tribulation lightning contained an immortal and undying aura that stopped her body from regenerating. Witch King, watch out! The Yin Yang Lord roared as his peak-tier king intent crushed toward Zhao Feng. He was worried that Zhao Feng would use another powerful eye bloodline technique. According to the information he had, Zhao Feng had an even more monstrous eye bloodline technique. At the same time, above his head, in the black and white curtain of Yin and Yang, the giant hand of light pressed down once again. Zhao Feng, the child demigod, and the skeletal division leader all unleashed their attacks at the Yin Yang Lord. The skeletal division leader controlled several giant hands of hatred to corrode the outside of the array. Zhao Feng and the child demigod were the main attackers. Boom! The child demigod circulated his demigod intent and clashed with the Yin Yang Lord's peak-tier king intent. In terms of intent, the child demigod's intent had the advantage. However, in terms of quantity, his soul foundation was somewhat lacking. Mine too. Zhao Feng laughed loudly as his purple hair danced in the wind, and a terrifying soul eye bloodline power surged from his left eye. Boom! The soul dimension shook, and a giant's purple eye appeared in the air, creating a will attack that looked down on all things. The eye intent appeared in an unbelievable form. Rumble! The eye intent contained the aura of God Tribulation lightning, and it boomed with thunder. A loud explosion resounded in the soul void. Outside the Purgatory Array, the Yin Yang Lord, who was as strong as a peak-tier king, groaned. Will manifestation? How is this possible? The Yin Yang Lord was filled with disbelief and shock. If it weren't for the fact that his soul intent surpassed normal peak-tier kings, his soul would have been injured by Zhao Feng and the child demigod. If it was a normal king, their will would have been severely injured and would have been in danger of collapse. Heaven's sealing palm. The child demigod followed up and thrust out a few palms. In that instant, the air nearby seemed to become muddy, and it was as if time had slowed down. Heaven sealing 18 palms. Boom, boom, boom. Numerous profound and grand golden palms of light twisted and sank into heaven and earth, forming layers of seals on the black and white light screen above their heads. My Yin Yang Sky Seal. The Yin-Yang Lord felt that the connection between him and the supreme secret skill that had merged with the sky screen was being cut off. His follow-up power was inexplicably restricted. Scarlet Destruction Wind Lightning. The wings on Zhao Feng's back fluttered as he summoned a storm of scarlet lightning, and a blazing scarlet fist smashed into the Yin-Yang sky screen. Boom! Crack! A hole was created in the black and white screen. Lightning wings wind flash. Zhao Feng was like a bolt of lightning in the dark blood-colored purgatory dimension. Bush, bush. The lightning wings flashed and instantly arrived at the location of the array flag that the Witch King was presiding over. Watch out! The Yin-Yang Lord and the Dark Soul King exclaimed at the same time. Take my fist! The Scarlet Destruction lightning wings fluttered at high speed and summoned a storm of scarlet lightning that covered several miles. The blood-colored beams of light in the purgatory dimension would start to dissipate as soon as they got close to the storm of scarlet lightning. Don't even think about it. The Witch King calmed herself down. She had only just recovered from the attack of the Scarlet Destruction Eye Flame. She didn't panic because there was still the barrier of the purgatory array in front of her. This meant that apart from her own defense, there was another barrier. Ghost Destruction Barrier. The Witch King crossed her pale white hands together, and screams sounded from her body as a strong power of the Ghost Tao condensed into a layer of air around her body. This layer of air was as dark as a black hole, and there was a layer of white flames burning on it. Right at this moment, Zhao Feng's attack arrived. Crack! An extremely condensed scarlet annihilation fist energy twisted like an aurora, summoning a vast scarlet lightning storm and bombarding the Witch King. This was definitely Zhao Feng's strongest punch after reaching the late stages of the Scarlet Destruction Wind Lightning. This punch was the pinnacle of speed. There was also the terrifying bloodline and body of the 10,000 ancient races. Gotcha! A giant hole instantly appeared in the barrier of the purgatory array and the gray flames. The barrier of the purgatory array started to shake. Pung! The Witch King's body shook, and her bloodline and mind felt like they couldn't breathe. The dark ghost fiend shield around her body quickly dimmed, and the white flames peeled off layer by layer. What a powerful attack! The expressions of the three Death Spirit Lords changed. Apart from the Yin-Yang Lord, none of the other Death Spirit Lords were Zhao Feng's match in a one-on-one fight. Take another punch from me! Zhao Feng roared with laughter as his left eye started to spin, and a powerful surge of eye intent shot toward the Witch King. His entire body was covered in a layer of beautiful icy blue scales. The extreme power of profound ice froze everything within a radius of 10 miles. The bloodline power of the 10,000 ancient races froze the area around the barrier and stopped the purgatory array from healing. Bush, bush. The Witch King felt a chill in her body. The ghost malice shield around her and the withering flames started to emit cold water vapor. Save the Witch King! The Dark Soul King's expression changed as he spread his hand. A ghostly hand more than 100 yards long screeched toward Zhao Feng in the soul dimension. This Dark Soul hand was extremely unique. It was 70% a soul attack and 30% a physical attack. The 70% soul attack would create all sorts of mental energy effects, including fear, confusion, and confusion. A normal king would have to guard their mind or else their consciousness would become chaotic. However, Zhao Feng didn't dodge the Dark Soul hand. When the ghostly hand landed on Zhao Feng's body, the blue scales on his body started to shine with a cold light that chilled one to the bone. A layer of frost started to form on the Dark Soul hand, and it started to crack. As for the 70% soul attack and special effects, they didn't affect Zhao Feng at all. Zhao Feng's God Spiritual Eye was almost unstoppable against soul attacks. He had never suffered in this aspect before. Although the Dark Soul King had a unique body and soul talent, there was still a gap between him and Zhao Feng in terms of the soul. Zhao Feng roared after blocking the attack, and a cold light condensed in his palm shot out like a blue lotus toward the Witch King. The cold light contained the bloodline power of the mystic ice-scaled race, which was ranked 89th among the 10,000 ancient races. Just the power of his physical body alone was enough to send ordinary kings flying. No. Fear started to spread in the Witch King's eyes. Her mind had been slightly injured by the attack from the Scarlet Destruction Eye Flame earlier. The Scarlet Destruction Wind Lightning and Eye Intent made it hard for her to breathe. Stop! The Yin-Yang Lord's voice reverberated through the air. Yin-Yang Sky Slashing Sword. A giant sword of black and white light, several hundred yards long, flashed through the air and slashed toward Zhao Feng. Golden Emperor's Fist. The child demigod snickered coldly as his golden fist blocked the giant sword of Yin-Yang Light. Bam! The black and white sword of Yin-Yang Light spun in the air and blocked the child demigod's attack. Its light dimmed a little as it charged toward Zhao Feng without slowing down. At the same time, ping! Zhao Feng's attack landed on the Witch King with his body and bloodline power of coldness. This attack also contained Zhao Feng's illusion maze domain, which made it hard for the Witch King to dodge. In an instant, the sky was filled with icy light, engulfing a part of the void. The icy light exploded like thousands of flowers blooming. It was beautiful and spectacular, but also extremely dangerous. Boom! See, everything within a radius of 100 miles was engulfed by the vast, profound ice storm. Bam! The Witch King's body was sent flying by the punch, and blood leaked out of her mouth, but it immediately froze. The power of coldness almost froze her bloodline, and the ghost protective barrier around her turned into a layer of ice that started to fall off. She shrunk the protective domain space around her body and was sealed in ice. Brat-die! The Yin-Yang Lord's giant sword of Yin-Yang landed on Zhao Feng's back. Although the power of the giant sword of Yin-Yang Light had been weakened by the child demigod, it was still extremely powerful and could severely injure domain-level kings. Ice Imperial Spear. Zhao Feng didn't dodge. A layer of ice-blue liquid flowed around his body and formed a dark blue ice armor, adding another layer of defense to his mystic ice-scaled race bloodline. In the Heaven's Legacy Race City, Zhao Feng's Ice Imperial Spear could turn into ice armor and other forms after being strengthened. Ding! The Yin-Yang Light sword of Yin-Yang Light slashed onto Zhao Feng's body, and a crack appeared on the ice armor. Zhao Feng's body shook, but he was completely fine. There was a layer of blue scales within the ice armor that seemed to be the scales of an ice dragon, but they were extremely exquisite. A tiny bloodstain appeared on the blue scales, but it quickly healed. One had to admit that the Yin-Yang Lord's attack wasn't just strong. After being weakened by the child demigod's punch, it landed on Zhao Feng's body and even broke through the ice armor of the Ice Imperial Spear. However, the Yin-Yang Lord, the Dark Soul Lord, and the Death Guards were all dazed. Zhao Feng's monstrous defense shocked both sides. After sending the Witch King flying with one punch, Zhao Feng was able to take more than half of the Yin-Yang Lord's attack head-on, but he was still completely fine. At this moment in time, the Witch King was injured by Zhao Feng's punch, and a layer of ice covered her body, slowing her down. Right at this moment, meow meow. A silver-gray line flashed behind the Witch King. Chapter 721. It's that thieving cat. Watch out. The Yin-Yang Lord and the Dark Soul Lord noticed the faint omen behind the Witch King. However, they had just attacked and couldn't stop it in time. The Witch King was injured, and a layer of frost covered her body, slowing her down. Shwa! The silver-gray line flashed and disappeared. Shwa! A mysterious dagger that was as dark as a shadow pierced through the Witch King's head with a chilling blade. Arg! The Witch King's body froze, and she let out a scream. Blood flowed down her forehead, eyes, and face. She was like a female ghost that had died a horrible death. The Shadow Kill Imperial Dagger's attack had critically injured her, and her life force had been destroyed. However, being a Void God Realm King, her soul intent was strong, and she didn't fall immediately. Where do you think you're going? The Witch King gave a cruel smile as her body turned into a ball of withered ghost flames that turned into a flaming Ghost King several yards tall. Pooh! The terrifying withered ghost flames spread in every direction. Meow! The little thieving cat disappeared after one attack. It was extremely sensitive to danger, and it left the Witch King's attack range before she could counterattack. Witch King! The Yin-Yang Lord and the Dark Soul Lord revealed unsightly expressions. In this state, the Witch King was burning her life force and soul as the price. Furthermore, she had been critically injured before she turned into a flaming ghost king. Once she returned to her normal state, she would most likely die. None of the Emperor of Death's subordinates are normal. Zhao Feng's expression became solemn. At this point, he was just a bit away from killing the Witch King. The Emperor of Death's subordinates, the Death Spirit Lords and the Death Guards, were all stronger than others of the same cultivation. Right at this moment, the Yin-Yang Lord and the Dark Soul Lord both attacked Zhao Feng at the same time. Zhao Feng wasn't scared of the Dark Soul Lord's attacks, but the Yin-Yang Lord's battle power was close to an emperor's. However, the attacks of the two Death Spirit Lords missed. Zhao Feng's figure disappeared. Lightning Wings Flying Technique. With the naked eye, all that could be seen was the blurry light of lightning wings flapping at high speed, breaking through the shackles of space itself. With a flash, it disappeared from where it stood. In the next moment, a pair of scarlet destruction lightning wings that were over 200 feet in length appeared beside the female Void Flame Ghost Monarch. Puchi. Wind Thunder Wing Slash. The scarlet destruction lightning wings condensed to the limit, and with a destructive aura, it slashed at the spectral ghost monarch's head. It was subtle. The wind lightning wings slash landed right where the little thieving cat had stabbed the Witch King. Moreover, the Witch King's phantom ghost queen had just been formed and hadn't stabilized yet. Ah! A mournful scream of despair shook the soul plane. Lightning Wings Flight Technique. Zhao Feng's god spiritual eye detected the change in the Witch King's power and disappeared once more. Boom! The Witch King's illusory flame form instantly exploded, turning into millions of withered and blood-stained flames that dissipated into the wind. Swoosh! The lightning wings on Zhao Feng's back fluttered, and he flew 1,000 feet away, barely dodging the core's powerful punch. Even so, the blue scale-patterned skin on his body still gave him a cold, piercing pain. Witch King! The Yin-Yang Lord and the Dark Soul King roared in shock as they watched the Witch King self-destruct and die. Zhao Feng's attack was as fast as lightning. It was fine if he didn't attack, but once he did, it was like a bolt of lightning. This was the Wind Lightning Emperor style. With his unrivaled speed, his opponents wouldn't be able to block him at all. This was the Wind Lightning Inheritance's pursuit of speed and offense. Meow meow. At this moment, the little thieving cat appeared on Zhao Feng's shoulder and rubbed its head against Zhao Feng's cheek. The human and cat stood outside of the Death Spirit Hell Array. Zhao Feng had just flown out of that large hole in the ice. At this moment in time, the Death Spirit Hell Array had lost 2 core members, and its power had decreased by more than half. It was full of flaws and wasn't far from collapsing. Now's the time. The child demigod led the way and led the Ghost Corpse Cursed Array toward the frozen hole. The hearts of the Yin-Yang Lord and the Dark Soul Lord dropped. Zhao Feng's side had successfully destroyed the Ghost Corpse Cursed Array from the inside and outside. The little thieving cat had played a key role in this. This was because attacking the outside of the array was much weaker when one was within the Death Spirit Hell Array. This was also why it took Zhao Feng so much effort to kill the Witch King. Lightning Wings Wind Flash. Zhao Feng's wings fluttered, but he didn't return to the array. Screams came from the Death Guards outside the Death Spirit Purgatory formation. Every time the wings of wind and lightning flashed, at least 1 or 2 Death Guards would die. Meow meow. The little thieving cat played with the Shadow Kill Imperial Dagger. Every time it waved it, the cold wind would pierce through the air. Even if it was just an illusion, it could still kill it. 1. The Death Spirit Purgatory formation shook slightly, becoming increasingly unstable. Many cracks appeared on it. After all, these Death Guards were also supporting parts of the Death Spirit Hell Array. The Death Spirit Hell Array had already lost 2 core members, and adding on the deaths of the supporting Death Guards, it became more and more unstable. Seeing the death of the Death Guards, the Yin-Yang Lord and the Dark Soul Lord roared in anger. Yin-Yang Sky Seal. The Yin-Yang Lord decided to give up on the Death Spirit Hell Array. Half of his body was white, while the other half was black. Boom! The Yin-Yang Lord raised his hand, and everything within several hundred miles was filled with a black and white seal of Yin-Yang. Heaven and earth seemed to be changed at this moment. Zhao Feng's body suddenly froze, and his expression changed dramatically as if he had fallen into mud. This time, the Yin-Yang Lord's Yin-Yang Sky Seal was even stronger since he didn't need to control the array. Die! The Yin-Yang Lords waved their hands, and a massive hand of black and white light appeared in the Yin-Yang heavenly screen, giving off a domineering aura. The nearby heaven and earth was under his control. The Yin-Yang seal hand merged into the sky, and its attack range was extremely large as it slammed toward Zhao Feng. Even if Zhao Feng used the lightning wings flying technique, he wouldn't be able to escape, and he would be restricted. This was because the Yin-Yang Lord's comprehension of heaven and earth was extremely close to that of an emperor. Zhao Feng could only take it head-on. A blue armor of ice appeared on his body, and he circulated the bloodline of the mystic ice-scaled race to the maximum. Lightning wings covering the sky. The scarlet-colored wings behind Zhao Feng's back suddenly expanded to a 100-yard-long wing, reaching an unprecedented size. With him as the center, the giant wings of wind and thunder flapped violently. Everything within a radius of dozens of miles was engulfed in a destructive scarlet thunderstorm, like a burning thunder flame storm. Through the 100-yard-long wings of wind lightning, Zhao Feng's control of wind lightning increased dramatically. Zhao Feng roared, and his 10,000 ancient races' bloodline and body condensed a scarlet destruction fist that slammed into the Yin-Yang Lord. This attack squeezed out all of Zhao Feng's bloodline and true yuan. In that instant, the true yuan and bloodline power within Zhao Feng's body surged, and his aura skyrocketed. The scarlet destruction true yuan was condensed, compressed, and boiled to the extreme. Boom! Zhao Feng's body shook, and his scarlet destruction true yuan became even more condensed. Its quality had reached the level of a void god realm king, and it was even slightly stronger than normal kings. In reality, the quality of Zhao Feng's true yuan had always been very high, and it wasn't much different from a void god realm king. All of this was because of the demigod's blood in the ancient dream realm. And now the quantity of Zhao Feng's true yuan had also reached the peak great origin core realm. He was only half a step away from becoming a void god realm king. Boom! Boom! The huge yin-yang canopy let out a deafening rumble, and suddenly dimmed by 30 to 40%. That brat! The yin-yang lord was dazed and in disbelief. Shua! Shua! The wings behind Zhao Feng started to shatter and return to their normal size. He flashed through the air and met up with the child demigod and the ghost corpse cursed array. Blood leaked out of Zhao Feng's mouth as the wings of lightning flew through the air. As expected of a peak-tier king, unrivaled against emperors, Zhao Feng's breathing quickened as he wiped away the blood. In terms of foundation, the difference between him and the Yin-Yang Lord was too big. He barely managed to block the attack just now, so he wasn't heavily injured. However, the amount of true yuan expended was terrifying. If the amount of Zhao Feng's true yuan had reached the level of a king, then he would be able to easily fight against a peak-tier king. Without using the god's spiritual eye, Zhao Feng would be able to fight against peak-tier kings like the giant shark king for a short period of time, but it would be disadvantageous if he fought for too long. However, the Yin-Yang Lord's strength was even higher than the giant shark king's. His soul, battle power, and intent were all extremely close to the level of an emperor. Even Zhao Feng's eye bloodline wasn't as effective against him. Master! The child demigod and the ghost corpse cursed array met up with Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng let out a breath. He grabbed a few resources and swallowed them to replenish what he had expended. With the help of the child demigod and the ghost corpse cursed array, Zhao Feng's chances of winning increased dramatically. On the other hand, the Yin-Yang Lord's array was broken, and only 2 Death Spirit Lords and a dozen or so Death Guards were left. Little Kuan Yun, what you need to do now is stall the Yin-Yang Lord. Zhao Feng ordered. The child demigod could suppress the Yin-Yang Lord in terms of intent, even though the difference in strength was huge. Understood, Master. The child demigod's skin glowed with golden light as his sacred body and demigod bloodlines started to awaken. Through this battle, the child demigod's strength was stimulated, and he started to recover faster. Heaven sealing 18 palms. The child demigod seemed to slowly push out his palms. Boom, boom, boom. profound golden palms started to twist and sink into heaven and earth. Everything that was touched by the golden palms seemed to turn into mud, and it was as if time had slowed down. The area that the Yin-Yang Lord was in was locked down and restricted. "Who the hell are you?" The Yin-Yang Lord's expression changed dramatically. Although he could use his Yin-Yang secret technique, it was restricted and couldn't do anything. The child demigod wasn't his match in a one-on-one fight. However, the child demigod used the legendary heaven-sealing palm to suppress the Yin-Yang Lord. As long as the heaven-sealing palm didn't stop, the Yin-Yang Lord's attacks and movements would be restricted. Even Emperor Mu Yun wasn't able to escape, let alone a void god realm king like him. Good job. Zhao Feng was very happy. The demigod revival plan hadn't gone to waste. At the same time, a surge of eye bloodline power appeared in his left eye, and a dark silver bow appeared in his hand. The scales of victory were leaning toward Zhao Feng. All he needed to do was increase the stakes. Chapter 722. Sky-Locking Bow. The dark silver bow in Zhao Feng's hand had mysterious carvings on it, and it glowed silver. On the bowstring, a dazzling golden arrow of light surrounded by a layer of scarlet lightning energy pierced through the air. On the other side, the Yin-Yang Lord's heart went cold as he was locked onto by a sharp aura. His intent was suppressed by the child demigod sky-sealing palm, so he obviously couldn't dodge the sky-locking bow's attack. The golden arrow pierced through the air in the blink of an eye and broke through the restrictions of space. Shwa! The golden arrow seemed to come out of space and stabbed into the Yin-Yang Lord's head. This arrow had condensed Zhao Feng's scarlet destruction wind lightning to the maximum, and it also contained the intent of the god tribulation lightning. Apart from that, it also contained the spatial and metal elements of the sky-locking bow. This was definitely the strongest arrow that Zhao Feng had used since he obtained the sky-locking bow, and it could kill normal kings and even severely injure domain-level kings. Boom! The Yin-Yang Lord was unable to dodge since his spatial domain didn't have any effect. Even if he tried to dodge, he was still hit by the golden arrow. Sii. He couldn't help but grunt as the black and white light around his body started to spin, and the golden arrow exploded with a crack. The Yin-Yang Lord's body shook slightly. The sharpness of the arrow and the explosion of the scarlet destruction wind lightning had injured him. Because the arrow had hit his head, his mind was shaken. Mental energy spike. A cold purple mental energy spike shot out from Zhao Feng's left eye and stabbed into the Yin-Yang Lord's soul. This time, the mental energy spike unleashed 100% of its power without the restriction of the Hell Array. The Yin-Yang Lord was repeatedly restricted, and he suffered another vicious mental attack. He felt a stabbing pain in his mind, and he screamed as cold sweat appeared on his forehead. In terms of soul strength, Zhao Feng was on par with the Yin-Yang Lord, and he might even be slightly weaker. After all, the Yin-Yang Lord's soul and intent were extremely close to that of an emperor. However, Zhao Feng's mental energy spike was fired through the god's spiritual eye, and he had also cultivated the 10,000 divine thoughts technique and the dark eye secret technique. His mastery of the Tao of the soul surpassed the Yin-Yang Lord. In addition, this psychic stab was a thunderous counterattack. It felt like a sudden attack. The Yin-Yang Lord felt a sharp pain on his forehead. His mind was actually slightly injured. Not only that, Zhao Feng's soul had been cleansed by the god tribulation lightning. Therefore, the psychic thorn's attack contained the aura of tribulation lightning. That was a light injury to the mind that was difficult to heal. There was a trace of undying and imperishable aura. Yin-Yang King, are you all right? The Phantom King exclaimed in shock. On his side, he was restrained by the 4 giant hands of resentment power of the 100 Corpses formation. Inside the great Ghost Corpse cursed formation, 100 sinister, blood-colored eyes unleashed terrifying psychic power attacks. The flame cloud of the 100 Corpses formation expanded to a radius of 10 li. Without the Purgatory formation, the Death Spirit Lord's side was truly at a disadvantage. Heaven sealing 18 palms. The child demigod's palm techniques didn't stop as he restricted the Yin-Yang Lord. At the same time, he unleashed his divine body fist techniques. Zhao Feng and the child demigod successfully suppressed the Yin-Yang Lord. This was especially true for Zhao Feng. His attacks could be both close and far, and his eye bloodline techniques were extremely hard to defend against. His speed was impressive, and his attacks were as fast as lightning. His bloodline defense was monstrous, and he could easily block the attacks of domain-level kings. Divine Light of Destruction. A dazzling cyan light that looked like countless tiny particles pierced through the Yin-Yang heavenly curtain and hit the black and white Yin-Yang light around the Yin-Yang Lord. The Destruction Godlight's powerful splitting and analysis caused the Yin-Yang King's protective Yin-Yang light to dim and shatter, almost collapsing. Not good. It's a rare dispersal technique. The Yin-Yang Lord revealed a look of panic for the first time. His body and bloodline weren't strong, and he wasn't as strong as Zhao Feng and the child demigod. The Yin-Yang Lord's defense relied on secret techniques. However, Zhao Feng had grasped many eye bloodline techniques, and he had many ways to counter them. The Divine Light of Destruction could split apart and analyze all kinds of techniques. Hee, it's not over yet. A faint smile appeared on Zhao Feng's face. Ice Soul Shooting Line. Another cold, transparent beam of light struck the Yin-Yang Lord, whose protective secret art had dimmed. See, a coldness filled the Yin-Yang Lord's soul. The Yin-Yang Lord's body froze. Under the child demigod's seal and Zhao Feng's lightning, he started to reveal flaws. This was the moment when the flaws were the most serious. Firstly, the mental energy spike had injured his mind, and he wasn't at his peak. Secondly, the Divine Light of Destruction had weakened his defensive technique to the limit, and it was on the verge of shattering. Thirdly, the Ice Soul Shooting Line had lowered his speed and thoughts. Right at this moment, meow meow. A silver-gray line appeared beside the Yin-Yang Lord. A mysterious dagger that was as dark as a shadow seemed to have pierced through the void. Shwa. The Shadow Kill Imperial Dagger easily pierced through the Yin-Yang Lord's defensive technique, and blood splattered everywhere, but it soon froze. The Yin-Yang Lord's body froze once again. The freezing effect of the Ice Soul Shooting Line and the numbing effect of the Shadow Kill Imperial Dagger also took effect. In reality, with the Yin-Yang Lord's peak strength, the freezing effect and numbing effect didn't have much of an effect on him. However, the Yin-Yang Lord's defense was at its most vulnerable, and he was attacked continuously. Suddenly, he felt a strong sense of danger in his heart. Shwa. A translucent blade that was 20 feet long with traces of destructive tribulation lightning aura on its surface slashed through the Yin-Yang Lord's body. In that instant, blood splattered everywhere. He couldn't defend against it. It's this move. The Dark Soul King's expression changed dramatically. The Yin-Yang Lord's body froze, and fear started to spread on his face. So it's the previous rounds of restrictions, neutralizations, and weakening were all for this final Void Space Eye Slash. Void Space Eye Slash. The undulations of Zhao Feng's left eye returned to normal. The continuous use of eye bloodline techniques had consumed a lot of his energy. Shwa. The half-transparent blade contained the aura of God Tribulation Lightning, and it slashed through the Yin-Yang Lord's body, killing his life force. The Yin-Yang Lord's body was almost cut in half from the top to the bottom, from the inside out. Golden Emperor's Fist. The child demigod used this chance to attack, and his golden fist became bigger and bigger as it smashed the Yin-Yang Lord's body into a mess of flesh and blood. Zhao Feng's God Spiritual Eye had already seen the Yin-Yang Lord's organs shatter and his life force disappear. Sky-locking bow. Zhao Feng thought of something and immediately took out the sky-locking bow. 1. The figure of a black and white Yuan soul jumped out of his body. A golden arrow surrounded by crimson lightning pierced through his body and soul. The Yin-Yang Lord's physical body exploded. His origin soul was heavily injured and turned pale. With a whoosh, he used his fastest speed to fly into the distant void sea. The speed of his Yuan soul even surpassed normal emperors. Yin-Yang King, I'll cover you. Zhao Feng was just about to unleash a second arrow when the Phantom King pounced toward him without any regard for the consequences. The Dark Spirit King's body swelled explosively to a height of over 1,000 zhang, and he transformed into a massive dark spirit demon that exuded a devastating aura. The spectral demon was covered in a layer of dark flames that shook heaven and earth. Its battle power had reached the limit of a king and was close to that of an emperor. The child demigod's heaven-sealing palm and ghost corpse cursed array were barely able to stop it. No matter how powerful the secret technique is, it can only increase one's strength. Your soul and heart will remain the same. Zhao Feng sneered. Faced with this situation, he just casually threw out a punch. Fantasy Maze Domain. That punch contained an enormous Soul Dao spatial domain that engulfed the gigantic specter demon. The spirit demon's senses were in a mess. It was situated in a vast, ancient maze. It had lost its target and could only attack randomly on the spot. Boom, boom. The attacks of Zhao Feng, the child demigod, and the ghost corpse cursed array landed on the vital points of the spectral demon. Although the spirit demon had powerful battle prowess, it was still howling miserably from the beating. Lord Dark Spirit King. The 10 or so death guards that were lucky enough to survive screamed in fear. The spirit demon fell into a desperate situation. It screamed miserably from the beating, but it only spun around on the spot. Dark Spirit King. The Yin-Yang Lord, who had escaped, couldn't bear to watch. Sirs, we can't let you die for nothing. The death guards that were ranked at the top gathered in a corner. Now that things have reached this point, we can only try to ask the Emperor for help. But the Emperor is still resting and hasn't recovered his soul power yet. He's very far away from here. The death guards discussed among themselves. How would we know if we don't try? A total of 9 death guards took out a token of death and sent a message. About 2 breaths later, the 9 tokens of death shook as they sensed something. Great, we've contacted the Emperor. The leader of the death guards was overjoyed as he quickly reported the current situation. Next, shwa, shwa, shwa. The 9 tokens of death floated in the air. Every single command token was pitch black like ink and emanated an ancient and deep aura. There was an ancient death character on the surface of the command token, and it emanated an aura of death that penetrated the soul. In the next instant, the aura of death from the 9 tokens of death merged into one point and formed a shocking intent of death. That's... Zhao Feng and the child demigod's bodies shook as their expressions changed dramatically, only to see a pair of giant black eyes appeared above the 9 tokens of death. They were so dark that they couldn't be seen, as if they were connected to the world of death. The eyes of death. Cries of surprise could be heard from the crowd. That was great. The death guards, including the Yin-Yang Lord who had escaped, were overjoyed when they sensed it. On the other hand, Zhao Feng, the child demigod, and the skeletal division leader within the ghost corpse cursed array seemed to be covered in the shadow of death, and their bodies froze. This is one of the 8 great god eyes, the eyes of death? The child demigod took a deep breath, and it was as if he had fallen into an ice house. He felt uneasy in his soul, as if his life wasn't in his control. A cold voice sounded across the soul dimension, and everything within 10,000 miles became deathly silent. The eye of death was as cold as the heavenly Tao, and it quietly stared at Zhao Feng from above. Chapter 723. In the sky above the limitless ocean, a pair of pitch-black eyes looked down coldly like the heavenly Tao, and a bottomless whirlpool could be seen in them, as if they were connected to the world of death. Gaze? A cold voice, accompanied by a will of death that reached the heavens and the earth, reverberated in this part of the sky. At this moment, the power of the Eye of Death appeared and unleashed a Soul Dao forbidden technique that shook the Tsang Ocean. Within a radius of 10,000 miles, countless marine and human experts seemed to be covered by the shadow of death. Their hearts felt cold and uneasy, and they couldn't stop this power. This feeling was like an old man at the end of his lifespan, unable to stop the steps of death. The intent of death was the same as time. They were the most irreversible ultimate powers in the heavens and earth. The feeling of one's life not being in one's control was familiar to Zhao Feng. Back in the Purple Saint ruins, Zhao Feng had a similar feeling when he faced the token of death. The difference was, back then, the token of death was only the simplified version of the gaze of death. This time, the power of the Emperor of Death's Eye of Death was countless times stronger than last time. This feeling. The skeletal division leader's consciousness within the ghost corpse cursed array seemed to be restricted, and it wanted to leave its body. His soul cried out in agony. This was just a trace of the residual power of the gaze of death that had spread out. The Eye of Death. It can control the intent of death. This is the bane of all beings, especially souls. The child demigod took a deep breath and was stunned. Putting aside the fact that he hadn't even reached the void god realm yet, even if he became a king or even an emperor, he wouldn't be able to block this power. Almost no one in the Tsang Ocean could surpass the Emperor of Death in terms of understanding of the soul. The child demigod's breathing became heavy, and his soul intent felt suppressed. Although he didn't feel as much danger as the skeletal division leader, the feeling that his life wasn't in his control wasn't real. He couldn't help but look toward Zhao Feng. The purple-haired youth was the true target of the Gaze of Death. Gaze of Death was a single-target soul path forbidden technique. However, due to its powerful death soul Dao profundities, the souls of nearby weak living beings could also be pulled away. Zhao Feng froze on the spot, his body and mind cold, a look of struggle on his face. An undefiable power of the soul Dao of death enveloped his body and mind. His soul consciousness was enveloped by the forbidden energy, and it was being pulled by a tremendous force that wanted to break free from his body. Zhao Feng almost couldn't control his body. His forehead was covered in sweat. However, the willpower and conviction in his eyes had never been extinguished. Death gaze? This move again. Hee, Emperor of Death, can you be a little more creative? The purple light in Zhao Feng's left eye grew brighter and brighter. He muttered mockingly as he used the 10,000 Divine Thoughts technique, a supreme soul technique, to resist the pull of the death soul Dao. Boom! Zhao Feng's eye intent was like a sharp mountain that shot toward the pitch-black eye in the sky. This guy, the 9 death guards in the distance couldn't believe it. They maintained their token of death and were protected by the power of death. Zhao Feng's resistance against the gaze of death seemed to be even stronger than Emperor Mu Yun's. Furthermore, he could even counter it. Gaze of death? How could I not be on guard against this move? A dark purple ocean appeared in Zhao Feng's left eye. With his eye intent as the lead, his resistance against the gaze of death became stronger, even though he was still struggling. So, Zhao Feng had obtained the Emperor of Death's memories from a death guard and used the gaze of death to steal Emperor Mu Yun's soul. That was just one of the reasons. There was another important reason. Don't forget that Zhao Feng had studied the Dark Eye Secret technique before. The Dark Eye Secret technique contained many of the Emperor of Death's soul Dao Eye bloodline techniques, but it didn't contain many offensive forbidden techniques. Although the secret technique didn't contain any records of the gaze of death, Zhao Feng's understanding of the laws of death could be underestimated. That was why Zhao Feng was on guard against the gaze of death. His God spiritual eye was very resilient against soul Dao attacks. The 10,000 Divine Thoughts technique was a peerless technique for cultivating the soul Dao. Back then, Emperor Duanmu didn't even agree when some emperors wanted to trade it with him. Emperor of Death. Zhao Feng's cold laughter echoed in the soul dimension. You need a month to recover all of your eye bloodline power. It's only been half a month, and you're forcefully using a teleportation technique again? As soon as he said this, the hearts of the death guards and the Yuan soul of the Yin-Yang Lord in the distance dropped. Forbidden techniques expended a lot of energy, let alone using them over such a long distance. As long as I can last for 10 breaths, your eye bloodline power won't be able to last, and you'll lose. As Zhao Feng fought back, he also fought back verbally and mentally. In the sky, a cold smile appeared on the giant eye of the Eye of Death. Zhao Feng, you've indeed grown very quickly. However, you've underestimated the Eye of Death's control over the intent of death and its ability to counter souls. The cold and indifferent voice surged with an earth-shattering chill of death. 1. The whirlpool within the pitch-black Eye of Death started to spin, and the pulling force increased. Zhao Feng's body went cold, and all of his life force seemed to freeze. He knew that this was the intent of death that the Eye of Death controlled. Any living being would be countered by the power of death. Zhao Feng obviously wasn't a living being. The pulling force became stronger and stronger, and Zhao Feng's soul started to struggle powerlessly. I can't continue like this. Zhao Feng's heart went cold. His body had gone cold and he couldn't control it anymore. The only thing he could control was his soul and the god's spiritual eye to fight against the pulling force. However, the pulling force from the gaze of death became stronger and stronger. Under the gaze of the eye of death, Zhao Feng's body went cold as he approached death step by step. With every breath that passed, Zhao Feng's struggling became weaker. Finally, a human-shaped figure started to float out of Zhao Feng's body. Looking closely, it was Zhao Feng's soul. Zhao Feng's soul was extremely strong, and purple lightning surged around his body. His aura surpassed most kings. Is it going to end just like this? The child demigod and the skeletal division leader froze as the shadow of death enveloped them. Luckily, the power of the gaze of death was concentrated on Zhao Feng's body. They were mostly facing the mental energy pressure. However, when Zhao Feng's soul was about to leave his body, it met with resistance. 1. Zhao Feng's left eye suddenly constricted. You want to take my soul? You'll have to take the god's spiritual eye as well. Zhao Feng started to struggle in the face of death. The god's spiritual eye. This would be his greatest reliance, his final barrier. Zhao Feng's soul power had merged with his eye bloodline and it was hard to tell them apart. Back then, the reason why Zhao Feng was able to fuse with the god's spiritual eye was because his soul was perfectly compatible with the god's spiritual eye. Otherwise, the god's spiritual eye wouldn't have chosen him. This is the protection of the god's eye. For the first time, the eye of death revealed a hint of wariness and seriousness. The ninth god's eye was in existence on the same level as his bloodline's ancestor, the god's eye of death. Emperor of Death, let's see how long you can last. Zhao Feng's roar sounded in the soul dimension. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye started to twitch. As if stimulated, some of the dormant power in the god's spiritual eye was awakened. Boom! In the eyes of the god spirit, a tyrannical aura of the primordial origin appeared. It looked down on the desolate land and the universe. Suddenly, he seemed to have transformed into a boundlessly enormous god from the primeval times. A single thought caused the ruler to submit, and every single move he made shook the world. This aura. Both friend and foe felt their souls shake as if they were ants in front of the power of a giant god. Insanity appeared in Zhao Feng's eyes. He had already given up on resisting the pull of the gaze of death. Attack! The strongest defense was offense. Ha! Zhao Feng roared, and an ancient aura that shook the sky appeared in the soul dimension. He circulated his eye intent, and all the soul power he had accumulated in his life shot toward the enormous pitch-black eye in the sky. Since he gave up resisting, Zhao Feng's soul and the power of his god eye charged toward the Emperor of Death like a heaven-devouring beast. How is this possible? The Emperor of Death's eye of death exclaimed as it endured the force of the ancient aura. Shua! Zhao Feng's soul consciousness and god's spiritual eye left his body, only to see Zhao Feng's left eye return to its normal black color, and his hair return to its original color. Then, a shocking scene appeared. A purple-colored god's eye appeared in the sky opposite the giant eye of death, and scarlet-colored lightning flashed on its surface. The purple-colored god's eye didn't seem to be illusionary. Instead, it seemed to be a real eye. One could see the eyeball and pupil in the air. From the looks of it, it was like an eyeball made of flesh and blood. This definitely wasn't the form of the eye of heaven, nor was it a pure soul body. The god's eye no longer existed in Zhao Feng's body. It had become one with Zhao Feng's soul, and it traveled through the great void. God's eye leaving body. Zhao Feng felt that his soul eye bloodline power had become stronger than ever before, and the undulation of his soul power wasn't any weaker than an emperor's. After reaching the void god realm, all kings and emperors could leave their yuan souls. Even if the body was destroyed, the soul wouldn't. Zhao Feng's soul, which was one with his god eye, left his body and roamed the great void in the form of his yuan soul. In this state, Zhao Feng's compatibility with heaven and earth was extremely high, and he could fight even in his soul form. Emperor of Death, let's see if you can take away my god's spiritual eye. Zhao Feng's soul consciousness merged with the purple-colored god's eye, and it radiated a chaotic battle intent. Boom! The gigantic purple eye caused wind and lightning to rumble, and the aura of the god Tribulation Lightning could be faintly felt as it charged toward the gigantic eye of death. Crack, crack. The pressure from the god's eye caused the tokens of death in the hands of the 9 death guards to shatter. Boom! Boom! The purple-colored god's eye clashed with the pitch-black eye of death. Chapter 724. Bung! Boom! The soul dimension started to shake, and it was as if the physical dimension was shaking. The purple god's eye was filled with battle intent, and it was surrounded by a layer of scarlet-colored lightning that could affect the physical dimension and the soul dimension. On the other side, the pitch-black eye of death started to reveal panic and uneasiness for the first time. The eye of death hadn't truly descended, it was just connected to this place. It could use the gaze of death, but it didn't specialize in physical fights in the soul dimension. Boom! The immense impact of the purple god eye had already caused the enormous, pitch-black eye to show signs of instability. Brat, you win this time? The eye of death image in the sky strangely rotated and shrank, turning into a small black. The eye of death expended a lot of energy to use the gaze of death. Furthermore, the Emperor of Death hadn't fully recovered yet, and he was being attacked by Zhao Feng. The Emperor of Death knew that it wasn't realistic to try and kill Zhao Feng this time. Rather than being attacked by Zhao Feng, it was better to retreat and preserve some yuan qi. Shua. As the Eye of Death turned into a small black and was about to disappear, the purple god's Eye of Death's shockwave engulfed it. Boom! The area where the Eye of Death was originally located was replaced by a large purple-colored god's eye, and scarlet-colored lightning howled as its eye intent shook heaven and earth. At this moment, the eye intent that Zhao Feng displayed wasn't any weaker than an emperor's, and it contained a destructive and unstoppable aura. The Eye of Death disappeared long ago, and a wisp of black smoke rose from where it originally stood. You run pretty fast. The large purple-colored god's eye revealed a weird expression. The Emperor of Death retreated decisively in front of Zhao Feng's counterattack. He was extremely cunning. This way, the price the Emperor of Death had to pay was the lowest. Although the Emperor of Death retreated quickly, he was still affected by the backlash. The price he paid was definitely greater than when he fought against Emperor Mu Yun. The 9 death guards all spat out mouthfuls of blood, and their faces went pale. Boom! The purple god's eye that merged with heaven and earth shot out a beam of eye intent that swept across the 9 death guards. The eye intent instantly destroyed the souls of the 9 death guards along with the sound of destructive lightning. Ah! The 9 death guards were all dead. Instant kill. The giant purple god's eye was essentially the carrier of the god's spiritual eye, the form of Zhao Feng's soul leaving his body. In this state, Zhao Feng's soul's battle prowess was extremely strong, and his affinity with heaven and earth was even stronger. The child demigod and the skeletal division leader couldn't help but take in a cold breath. When a normal king's yuan soul left their body, they would usually use it to escape or for some other special purpose. They would rarely use it in battle. It was rare for Zhao Feng to fight in such an arrogant and overbearing manner after his origin soul had left his body. The purple eye that covered the skies suddenly disappeared. In the next instant, it returned to Zhao Feng's body. Zhao Feng's body started to move, and his left eye and hair became faint purple. After returning to his body, Zhao Feng found that he was covered in cold sweat. The battle just now was too dangerous. Luckily, the Emperor of Death's true body hadn't descended, and he wasn't at his peak. The gaze of death used a lot of energy, and it had its own limitations. But after this failure, the Emperor of Death will need at least a month or 2 to recover to his peak. Zhao Feng's eyes twinkled as he said deeply. Following the failure of the Eye of Death, the battle on the battlefield had ended. The Dark Soul King was on the verge of collapsing, but he managed to escape after the gaze of death was used. The Yin-Yang Lord's Yuan soul was heavily injured, and it saw that the situation wasn't right, so it ran away. Even if these 2 Death Spirit Lords could keep their lives, It would take several years or even more than a dozen years for them to regain their peak strength. After the battle, Zhao Feng, the child demigod, and the skeletal division leader were all exhausted. Master, should we go now? Otherwise, the Emperor of Death? Fear appeared in the skeletal division leader's eyes. The Emperor of Death had the ability to kill emperors even if he was several island zones away. If his true body were to show himself, he would be able to use his secret techniques and forbidden arts without any restrictions. The consequences would be unimaginable. There's no need to rush. Zhao Feng didn't deny that the Emperor of Death's true body was terrifying. If the Emperor of Death's true body descended, they might be instantly killed. However, even emperors couldn't cross such a distance easily unless they had the space-time god's eye. Furthermore, the Emperor of Death had used up most of his energy. Let's go down first. Zhao Feng ordered the ghost ship to enter the limitless ocean. Not long later, somewhere in the void ocean, a young man in a state of suspended animation appeared. This youth was Wenlun, who had been knocked into the ocean earlier. Wenlun was the first person Zhao Feng tried to break through the Death Spirit refining array. Zhao Feng knew that Wenlun wouldn't die so easily with his 10,000 ancient races bloodline. Wenlun's body moved slightly, and he barely managed to open his eyes. At this moment, Wenlun's soul started to hurt, and his body started to become numb. Soul chains? Zhao Feng's left eye locked onto Wenlun and locked onto his soul. Wisps of purple lightning wrapped around his soul. This way, Wenlun couldn't even kill himself if he wanted to. Meow meow. The little thieving cat waved its paw and knocked Wenlun out again. At this moment, Wenlun's soul and body were both severely injured, and he was extremely weak. This is a good chance. Zhao Feng nodded his head. He didn't hesitate anymore and sent his eye intent into the depths of Wenlun's soul and placed a dark heart seal on it. The dark heart seal wasn't the same as the dark heart seed. Once someone was hit by the dark heart seal, they would completely enslave the target. Of course, although the control of the dark heart seal was strong, it would restrict the target's growth. This was because the target's thoughts would be enslaved and lose their true independence. They would be like a puppet that only listened to orders, and it would be extremely difficult to break through. Therefore, Zhao Feng didn't use the dark heart seal on the child demigod. With the latter's intelligence, he would rather die than become a slave. The child demigod and the skeletal division leader were both affected by the dark heart seed. The dark heart seed was like a seed of death planted in the soul, a ticking time bomb. With just one thought, Zhao Feng could destroy the target's soul. Therefore, the dark heart seed controlled the target's life and death. The target had their own thoughts and might rebel, but their growth wouldn't be affected. 2 days later, the ghost ship had traveled a long distance and entered a new island zone. Master! The weak and fearful voice of a youth sounded in the captain's room. Wenlun half knelt in front of Zhao Feng respectfully. His gaze toward Zhao Feng wasn't just filled with respect, it was also filled with submission. The child demigod and the little thieving cat looked on curiously. I wonder how Zhao Feng will deal with the disciple of the Emperor of Death. The heart of the child demigod became heavy. Even a god beast with a mythical bloodline of the 10,000 ancient races was like a puppet after the dark heart seal was planted. The child demigod always lived in the shadow of the dark heart seed. After reviving, his life and death was in Zhao Feng's hands. As for the dark heart seed, if it was further strengthened, it would be the dark heart seal. Inside the captain's room, Zhao Feng interrogated Wenlun, and the latter answered everything he knew. No wonder the pursuit of death still hasn't disappeared. So, there's a successor of the destiny god's eye. Zhao Feng learned a lot of information from the interrogation. One had to know that the Tsang Ocean was extremely big. Even if he could sense it, trying to kill someone was like finding a needle in a haystack. Furthermore, Zhao Feng had reduced his senses to the max. Zhao Feng originally thought that his luck was too bad, which was why he was chased by the pursuit of death. Eyes of destiny? The child demigod and the little thieving cat revealed weird expressions. Of the 8 great god eyes, the destiny god eye was the most unique. Its battle power wasn't the strongest, but it was probably the weakest. However, The power of destiny was something that couldn't be touched or controlled. The fan universe had experienced the immemorial era, the ancient era, and the ancient era. How many peerless experts had been born in that time? All the heaven's favorites and almighties couldn't escape their fates in the end. After that, Zhao Feng searched Wenlan's soul and learned a lot about the Emperor of Death. He didn't even miss out on his habits and personality. Knowing yourself and your enemy was the key to victory. Zhao Feng and the Emperor of Death walked on the path of confrontation. Either one of them died or the other lived. It was necessary to know more about the enemy. For hours later, Wenlu, go back to your master first. Zhao Feng ordered. Understood, master. Wenlun had a respectful expression as he left the ghost ship with heavy injuries. Within the captain's room, Zhao Feng sat down and closed his eyes as he started to cultivate. Now, he was on par with a Void God Realm king in every aspect. In fact, he might even be stronger. The only thing he lacked was the amount of true yuan. He was only half a step away from becoming a true king. The ghost ship's route didn't change. It only stayed at the pirate sacred land for a month before continuing toward the sky's sacred Qin Palace. Half a month later, in a small region of a miniature mountain forest. Looking down from the sky, the entire region was filled with verdant mountains and forests. Within a quiet canyon, Wenlun staggered in pain and landed near the entrance of a cave. Plop. Wenlun fell to the ground and gritted his teeth as he said, "Master? I have important news." "Your Highness." Two death guards immediately helped Wenlun up. "And oh, you're still alive?" A voice sounded. Shua. A dark, ancient, and tall figure appeared in front of Wenlun like the shadow of death. The Emperor of Death's expression was weak, but he inspected his disciple with joy. He seemed to sense something, and his expression changed dramatically. In the next instant, Wenlun's expression became dark as the true yuan within his body started to move, and he turned into a blazing sun that instantly self-destructed. Boom! Everything within a few hundred miles was engulfed by the blood-colored flames from Wenlun's self-destruction. The canyon in front of him was instantly leveled. Chapter 725. That deafening explosion was like an earthquake or a natural disaster. Even thousands of miles away, one could feel the faint shaking. Boom! From afar, the core of the explosion seemed to be the self-detonation of a blood-red golden sun. Dazzling blood-red flames and golden light wreaked havoc for hundreds of miles. The core area of the explosion faintly emitted an ancient forbidden aura. The power of the self-destruction this time was more than 2 times stronger than the one in the demigod Forgotten Garden. You should know. The self-detonation from last time had killed a death spirit lord. But this time, Wenlun self-destructed in his complete state, instead of using a secret technique. This was because the power of the 10,000 ancient races' bloodline and even his soul accompanied his self-destruction. From this, it could be seen how terrifying the power of the explosion was. Even an ordinary great emperor wouldn't be able to escape unscathed. Boom! Everything within 1,000 miles was shrouded in dust. The environment and climate of the entire mini-domain were affected. This forest was similar to the 8 desolate mountain, and its living space was about the same as the 13 countries of Cloud. The strongest expert in this zone was only a great origin core realm sovereign lord. The terrifying aura of this self-destruction made the hearts of the sovereigns in this region jump. The dust that shrouded thousands of li did not disperse for a long time. Tao Feng. In the core of the explosion, in the ravine that had been flattened, came a voice that made one's heart tremble. That voice was low, hoarse, and extremely cold, as if it came from the depths of hell. They saw. A figure of death wearing a dark golden crown stood in place. His loose black robe fluttered in the wind. The Emperor of Death stood where he was, and he seemed completely unharmed. His expression was extremely gloomy, and his pitch-black and boundless eyes constricted unsteadily. Within his field of vision, apart from the Emperor of Death and a few death guards, even their corpses were turned into ashes. There seemed to be an invisible force field around the Emperor of Death. Even the ground beneath his feet didn't leave any marks. Such terrifying strength was enough to shock some of the great emperors of the spirit realm's sacred land. But, Bai Lin, the Emperor of Death's expression changed as he suddenly thought of something. If the white-eyed girl was within a few hundred miles, she would definitely die. She did not have the strength and survivability of a death guard. The death of his third disciple, Wenlun, brought great humiliation to the Emperor of Death. He had watched as his disciple, whom he had nurtured for many years, self-destructed right before his eyes, but he was unable to stop it in time. What kind of mockery and humiliation was that? All of this was orchestrated by Zhao Feng. However, if the white-eyed girl with the Eye of Destiny also died in the explosion, the losses would be severe. Thinking of this, the Emperor of Death groaned as his complexion became even worse. Even though the self-detonation did not cause him any direct damage, he still suffered a certain amount of backlash from forcefully activating a secret art to defend himself despite his weakened body. This was undoubtedly one disaster after another for the Emperor of Death, who needed to rest. Bai Lin, the Emperor of Death forcefully circulated his divine sense to cover a few thousand miles. Master. A timid voice came from the distant sky. Raising his head, he saw the white-eyed little girl drifting down with a somewhat pale complexion and a lingering fear. It's good that you're still alive. The Emperor of Death couldn't help but let out a long breath. The white-eyed little girl was indeed worthy of having the Eye of Destiny. She had a sharp sense of danger. Before Wenlun self-detonated, the white-eyed little girl had gone out to play. Luck was also a part of fate. For someone with the Eye of Destiny, the white-eyed little girl even had the ability to grasp fate. Taofeng, I'm afraid this is your true goal. The Emperor of Death's pitch-black eyes gazed in the direction of the pirate's sacred land. The corner of his mouth curled into a cold smile. As long as the Eye of Destiny was on his side, the Emperor of Death had a high chance of winning. Third senior martial brother, I'll take revenge for you. A rare look of hatred appeared in the white-eyed little girl's eyes. The memories of senior martial brother Wen with her seemed to flash in her mind. The image of the warm youth who always smiled and took care of her couldn't be erased from her mind. A serious expression started to appear on the white-eyed little girl's face. Bai Lin, how's your prediction going? The Emperor of Death asked. The girl with the Eye of Destiny had always been nonchalant, and it was rare for her to be serious. There are more and more clues and information. I'll definitely be able to find his whereabouts. The white-eyed little girl bit her lips as she held her brush. As Zhao Feng escaped and fought with the Death Spirit Lord, more and more information was revealed. In the limitless ocean, on the other side, whoosh. The Ghost Corpse's ship flew at a high speed in a certain direction. Within the captain's room, unfortunately, Zhao Feng revealed a regretful expression as he sat down. The instant after Wenlun self-detonated, Zhao Feng also saw a blurry image through the dark heart seal. The Emperor of Death's strength was unimaginable. Furthermore, the white-eyed little girl's aura wasn't within the range of the self-detonation. However, Wenlun's self-detonation was Zhao Feng's first true counterattack after facing the pursuit of death. In the past, when Zhao Feng faced the pursuit of death, he would either run or fight with his life on the line. However, this time, not only did Zhao Feng injure one of the Emperor of Death's right-hand men, he even counterattacked the Emperor of Death. Skeletal Division Leader, changed the route slightly. Zhao Feng suddenly said. The owner of the Eye of Destiny gave him a warning. He couldn't go straight toward the sky's sacred Qin Palace. Next, Zhao Feng told the Skeletal Division Leader to change the route randomly. The destination did not change, but the route changed irregularly. Zhao Feng made this decision based on his intuition. Master, according to the new route, the journey will be longer. It will take another year to reach the sky's sacred Qin Palace. The Skeletal Division Leader said. That's it. Zhao Feng nodded his head. He would focus on cultivating for the next year. Zhao Feng closed his eyes and entered seclusion. At this moment, apart from the amount of true yuan, Zhao Feng was stronger than normal Void God Realm kings. In order to accumulate true yuan faster, Zhao Feng organized some of the spoils of war in his ancient metal ring. In reality, ever since the fortune in the Heaven's Legacy secret realm, Zhao Feng had used up all of his resources. The remaining resources and precious materials he had were all plundered later on. However, at this level, the resources that could push Zhao Feng's cultivation became less and less. 2 months passed. Zhao Feng drank the remaining Dragonflame wine and Lightning Cloud wine, but the effects weren't obvious. After all, Zhao Feng's Scarlet Destruction True Yuan had reached the level of a king, and it was slightly stronger than normal Void God realms. There's still half a cup of Illusion God wine left. A purple crystal cup appeared in Zhao Feng's hand. Gulu. Zhao Feng drank the last half a cup of Illusion God wine. After several months of killing, Zhao Feng's intent had completely stabilized, and it had even improved. After drinking the Illusion God wine, a strong drunkenness covered Zhao Feng's soul consciousness. In essence, the power of the Illusion God wine was absorbed by the soul, and the drunkenness directly affected his soul consciousness. So, Zhao Feng's consciousness entered a profound state of emptiness. In just a few breaths, Zhao Feng's mental energy intent seemed to have increased, and his comprehension of heaven and earth increased. Of course, this increase in intent was only temporary. Zhao Feng used his time and entered a state of comprehension. 10 breaths later, that kind of drunkenness, from the peak, slowly receded. Half the time it took to make tea later, Zhao Feng's consciousness returned to normal, and he shook his head and sighed. At his current level, the effect of the Illusion God wine wasn't as strong as the first time. The comprehension just then only increased Zhao Feng's mental energy intent slightly. However, when one's mental energy intent was approaching the peak of the Void God realm, even the slightest increase was hard to come by. My comprehension of heaven and earth intent should surpass most kings. Zhao Feng nodded his head slightly. Only emperors at the peak of the Void God realm would be able to suppress Zhao Feng in terms of intent. After increasing his intent, Zhao Feng's cultivation speed would also increase. In the next 1 or 2 months, Zhao Feng's cultivation continued to increase. Unfortunately, the resources that he had on hand that could help him advance in his cultivation were getting fewer and fewer. In the 4th month after leaving the Pirate King's sacred land, Zhao Feng's True Yuan storage had reached the limits of the peak origin core realm. In the following period of time, Zhao Feng could break through to the Void God realm at any time. Although becoming a king won't increase my strength by leaps and bounds, my foundation will increase greatly. I won't be a burden anymore. Zhao Feng murmured. The strength of his True Yuan, the level of his soul, and his mental energy intent had all reached the Void God realm. The only thing he lacked was the amount of True Yuan. Previously, when fighting with kings, Zhao Feng had to end the battle quickly. If he fought for too long, he would run out of energy. Within the captain's room, Zhao Feng was only half a layer away from reaching the Void God realm. As for the precious resources he had on hand, he had basically used up all of them. On this day, Zhao Feng closed his eyes as his consciousness entered the whirlpool in the center of his purple soul ocean. Shua. Zhao Feng stepped into this ancient land once again. By now, the ancient dream realm's rejection of Zhao Feng was becoming smaller and smaller. This was especially so after merging with the mystic ice-scaled race's bloodline, which was ranked on the 10,000 ancient races. This meant that Zhao Feng would be able to use more battle power in the ancient dream realm. Zhao Feng quickly walked across the grass toward the forest in front of him. A while later, Zhao Feng jumped into the forest. There were many native beasts of the ancient dream realm in the forest, and danger was everywhere. Zhao Feng opened his god's spiritual eye and avoided some of the larger beasts. At the current stage, the meat of beasts and spring water weren't of much help to Zhao Feng. He needed to find new resources. After entering the forest, Zhao Feng slowed down. In this period of time, Zhao Feng met a poisonous snake and a leopard, but he managed to deal with them without any mishaps. After searching for half a day, Zhao Feng's wish came true and he saw a huge tree with fruits growing on it. Maybe it was because of the weather, but the other trees didn't have any fruits, and even the leaves were slightly yellow. Only this huge tree had an unusual aura, and there were dozens of yellow and red fruits growing on it. However, the area around the tree was deathly silent, and there was an unsettling aura. Chapter 726. Zhao Feng didn't act rashly. He held his breath and carefully inspected the environment around the tree. The aura around the tree wasn't normal. There wasn't a single insect or beast within 100 yards. It was completely silent. Zhao Feng suddenly felt a coldness, as if he was being stared at by a dangerous aura. Hisses. A long and huge shadow suddenly leaped out from the lush tree, accompanied by a gust of astral wind and the stench of blood. Zhao Feng's heart jumped. His left eye caught sight of a dark green spotted python. It was 7 or 8 yards long, and its aura was one with the nearby trees. The green spotted python's eyes were red, and it flicked its tongue. When it opened its mouth, it was even bigger than a water tank. With a gust of wind and sand, the green spotted python's fangs instantly arrived in front of Zhao Feng. Too fast. Zhao Feng was frightened, and in a moment of desperation he used wind lightning to retreat. However, this wasn't enough to dodge the green spotted python's follow-up attacks. A layer of exquisite blue scales appeared on Zhao Feng's body and covered his entire body like dragon scales. Fuck off! Zhao Feng circulated the mystic ice-scaled race's physique bloodline, and an icy blue spear as thick as a tree trunk appeared in his hand, which he stabbed into the green spotted python's mouth. Shwa! Pung! The ice imperial spear only stabbed into the python's mouth by half an inch, and a surge of power pushed Zhao Feng back several yards. The wings of wind and lightning behind Zhao Feng's back flashed as he quickly retreated and used the nearby trees to dodge. At the same time, his god spiritual eye couldn't help but inspect the green spotted python. Damn, this python probably isn't a wild beast. It already has intelligence and can absorb the essence of heaven and earth. It's a Yao spirit. Zhao Feng took in a cold breath. What kind of environment was the ancient dream realm? How could beings that could absorb the essence of heaven and earth and reach a cultivation level be compared to those in the real world? You should know. The wisp of aura here could cleanse even those at the true lord rank, and the river water and the meat of the beasts here could strengthen the bodies of those at the great origin core realm. The strength of the green spotted python was evident from the short exchange just now. This fellow's physical strength is powerful, and his blood chi is vigorous. My strength is limited in the ancient dream realm. Zhao Feng's eyes flickered. In a head-on melee, Zhao Feng was still no match for it. Hiss, hiss. The python's gaping mouth was covered in a layer of frost as it hissed and hissed, glaring coldly at Zhao Feng. Fortunately, this giant python doesn't know any battle skills or secret arts. Zhao Feng let out a sigh of relief. His figure retreated a certain distance, and a dark green ancient bow appeared in his hand. Zhao Feng was just about to activate the sky-locking bow. Right at this moment, a sharp cry came from the sky. Zhao Feng could feel a powerful aura of an atavistic beast lunging at him, which was slightly familiar to him. So, waves of wind surged as an ancient demonic bird that was 5 or 6 feet long swooped down, heading straight for a ripe red fruit on the towering tree. Sii. The green spotted python hissed in anger as it threw Zhao Feng aside and leapt toward the ancient Yao bird. It's this Yao bird? Zhao Feng revealed a weird expression. In the early days, when he had just started walking in the ancient dream realm, he had encountered this ancient demonic bird. At that time, Zhao Feng was scared by this Yao bird. At that time, he was barely able to walk in the ancient dream realm. It wasn't like now. Zhao Feng's bloodline, body, and even soul were countless times stronger than before. Furthermore, as the bloodline of the mystic ice-scaled race merged into his body, the pressure Zhao Feng felt in the ancient dream realm decreased. In the blink of an eye. Before the python arrived, the ancient demon bird had already picked up a red fruit with its beak and swallowed it quickly. Sii. Boom. At this moment, the green spotted python leapt over and the leaves swayed. A hint of cunning flashed in the ancient Yao bird's eyes. It flapped its wings and reached the top of the tree. It wasn't a match for the green spotted python in a head-on fight. However, in terms of agility and mobility, it was far better than the ancient Yao bird. Just like that, the azure spotted python fought the ancient demonic bird in the air above the tree. Overall, the green spotted python was at a disadvantage. The ancient Yao bird could move freely. However, it was difficult for it to steal one or two more fruits. It was only able to succeed because Zhao Feng was distracted by the green-spotted python. Good chance. Zhao Feng's eyes lit up when he saw the green-spotted python on the tree. Lightning surrounded his body and his speed increased. He landed on one of the branches of the towering tree Yao in a few leaps. Quick! Zhao Feng's figure moved behind the python and he quickly picked two fruits. One was half-ripe azure and the other was red. If his guess was correct, this fruit could barely be considered a spiritual fruit in the ancient dream realm. Zhao Feng's actions attracted the attention of the green-spotted python and the ancient Yao bird. The green-spotted python was enraged and it swept towards Zhao Feng behind it. Zhao Feng put away the two spiritual fruits, and his body became covered in scales and a blue ice armor. This way, he had 2 layers of defense. Zhao Feng tried his best to dodge and let the python sweep his back. His body shook and he was sent flying. Zhao Feng used the force to fly back almost 10 yards. There was a small crack on the blue ice armor, but it wasn't anything serious. One had to know that Zhao Feng's 2 layers of defense could block a peak-tier king's attack in the real world. On the other hand, a layer of frost appeared on the tail of the green-spotted python, and its movements became stiff. So, Zhao Feng didn't care about the battle between the 2 Yao spirits and flew out of the forest to the grass. Right at this moment, the screech of the ancient Yao bird came from behind, and a surge of ancient Yao spirit aura leapt toward Zhao Feng. The ancient Yao bird chased after Zhao Feng. Maybe. It thought that Zhao Feng was easy to bully and wanted to steal his spiritual fruits. I'll deal with you next time, you bastard. Zhao Feng harumphed coldly. He had already reached his goal, and he didn't want anything else to happen. Shua. Zhao Feng's figure vanished from where he stood. In the next moment, the ancient demon bird brought with it a whistling gust of wind as it flew over, but it pounced on empty air. The ancient Yao bird circled around and was dazed. It was obvious that it couldn't understand why this human would disappear into thin air. Ghost ship, captain's room, Zhao Feng laughed lightly as he looked at the 2 fruits in his hand. The 2 fruits, one green and one red, radiated an ancient aura, and the heaven-earth yuan qi in the outside world started to tremble. Spiritual fruits contain the essence of heaven, earth, sun, and moon. However, the environment of the spiritual fruits in the ancient dream realm was much better than the real world. It was even better than the demigod Forgotten Garden. In order to prevent their auras from leaking, Zhao Feng released a surge of magnificent power to seal the auras of the 2 spiritual fruits. Meow meow. The little thieving cat sat on his shoulder and looked at the 2 fruits with a greedy expression. Zhao Feng scanned with his divine sense and found that the child demigod was in seclusion, saving him some trouble. Seeing this, he took out an azure fruit and gave it to the little thieving cat. Meow. The little thieving cat ate it in one gulp, and in just a short while, it burped and returned to the ancient metal ring to sleep. Zhao Feng clicked his tongue. From the looks of it, the heaven-earth yuan qi contained within the azure fruit couldn't be underestimated. He observed for a while and saw that the little thieving cat didn't have any negative reactions. Zhao Feng didn't hesitate anymore. He opened his mouth and swallowed the red fruit in a few bites. The red fruit didn't melt as expected after entering his body. It seemed like the flesh and fruits of the ancient dream realm were harder to digest than the ones in the real world. However, this was beneficial for Zhao Feng. The energy contained within the red fruit wouldn't be released in one go, so it could be absorbed as much as possible. A few breaths later, wisps of heaven-earth yuan qi with an ancient aura flowed through Zhao Feng's body. The heaven-earth yuan qi contained within this spiritual fruit is extremely strong. Zhao Feng clucked his tongue. Luckily, his state of existence and his 10,000 ancient races bloodline were extremely strong, which was why he was able to absorb the heaven-earth yuan qi within the spiritual fruit. Time slowly passed by. On the same day, the aura of the crystal-like core in Zhao Feng's body started to expand. Just a few wisps of the heaven-earth yuan qi from this spiritual fruit is comparable to a peak spiritual fruit in the outside world. Zhao Feng was overjoyed. Under the influence of the ancient dream realm spiritual fruit, Zhao Feng's body and organs were cleansed. The true yuan contained within the crystal core was not only increasing, but its aura was also becoming more condensed. At the same time, under Zhao Feng's powerful king intent, the heaven-earth yuan qi within several thousand miles surged towards him. Regretfully, the heaven-earth yuan qi within the limitless ocean was extremely thin. Only the inner regions were truly suitable for cultivation and survival. In order to avoid the pursuit of death and leave behind clues, Zhao Feng wouldn't stay in any inner regions or void ocean spiritual palaces. 10 days later, Zhao Feng had completely absorbed the heaven-earth yuan qi within the spiritual fruit, and he had used up a large amount of resources. Luckily, the crystal core within his dantian had reached a new level. From the looks of it, the crystal core was only the size of a date, and its size hadn't changed much. However, there was another world within it. Zhao Feng's divine sense seeped in and sensed a vast dimension of true yuan. Inside the crystal core, the red true essence was like a massive lake. There was a vast amount of it, and it surged endlessly, giving off an inexhaustible sense of fullness. This is the void god realm. The soul is perfectly compatible with heaven and earth, and the true yuan is like an ocean that can't be used up. The true yuan within Zhao Feng's crystal core was like a surging lake. Wherever he was, there was an endless supply of heaven and earth yuan qi. From this moment onwards, even Zhao Feng's true yuan cultivation had reached the level of a void god realm king. His aura started to slowly circulate, and a scarlet-colored light surrounded him. He was like a ball of divine light, and his aura merged with heaven and earth. Void God Realm King. The skeletal division leader and the child demigod were both stunned by the king aura. Chapter 727. From this moment onwards, Zhao Feng had completely stepped into the level of a void god realm king. If he didn't purposely conceal his aura, his intent and true yuan would be able to connect with heaven and earth. This was equivalent to fusing with the world at all times. This was also why some void god realm kings were enveloped in the magnificent power of heaven and earth, and their every action was filled with power. Congratulations, Master! The skeletal division leader and the child demigod both congratulated. Both of them had a complicated look on their faces. The only difference was that the skeletal division leader's respect came from the bottom of its heart. It had personally witnessed Zhao Feng's miraculous growth. In the Azure Flower continent, void god realm kings were legendary existences that only existed in ancient legends. Even the Scarlet Moon Patriarch of the past had only touched the void god realm. In other words, with Zhao Feng's current cultivation, he was an unrivaled sovereign in the Azure Flower continent, let alone his true strength. The child demigod was stunned by Zhao Feng's rapid growth, and he felt even more wary and pressure. Little Kuan Yun, your cultivation isn't far from the void god realm. Zhao Feng's gaze flashed past the child demigod. The child demigod relied on resources to recover his strength. If it weren't for the restriction of resources, the child demigod might have broken through to the void god realm even faster than Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng's gaze pressured the child demigod. At this moment, Zhao Feng's soul and true yuan were both stronger than the child demigod's. The only thing he was lacking was his intent. After all, the child demigod was a demigod before he went back to the past. Even if he hadn't fully recovered, his intent could still suppress emperors. Inside the captain's room, Zhao Feng closed his eyes and consolidated his cultivation. The child demigod returned to the ancient metal ring with a slightly depressed expression. It wasn't hard for him to find that Zhao Feng had used some top-tier resources to break through this time. Due to the lack of resources, the child demigod needed at least half a year to break through. Out of instinct and caution, Zhao Feng controlled the child demigod's cultivation to be on par with his. This was the only way he could control the other party while maximizing his usefulness. In the next few days, Zhao Feng went into seclusion to consolidate his cultivation. Although he had broken through with the help of external forces, his realm and soul had already reached virtual god level. After becoming a king, Zhao Feng's strength didn't skyrocket. After all, only the quantity of his true essence had greatly increased. The strength of his true essence had only improved slightly. This was within his expectations. However, Zhao Feng's strength and foundation had greatly increased. Zhao Feng was confident that with his current strength, he was invincible against anyone below the emperor realm. With his eye bloodline, he might even be able to challenge an emperor. If he were to encounter the Yin-Yang King again, Zhao Feng wouldn't be afraid even if it was a one-on-one battle. 10 days later, Zhao Feng's focus shifted to the absorption of the deity Tribulation Lightning and the Wind Lightning inheritance. These were all things that could directly increase his strength. As long as Zhao Feng had free time, he wouldn't stop absorbing the deity Tribulation Lightning. Within the dimension of his left eye, the deity Tribulation head floated silently and leaned against the edge of the purple soul sea. Zhao Feng used the soul version of the lightning transformation divine technique to absorb the power of the god Tribulation head. Boom! The sound of 10,000 bolts of lightning boomed in his soul and radiated an immortal and undying aura of god Tribulation Lightning. Right now, Zhao Feng's soul intent had a strong resistance against the particles of god Tribulation Lightning. After absorbing a few wisps of god Tribulation Lightning, his soul was also cleansed. In the process of absorbing the god Tribulation Lightning, Zhao Feng's soul and intent would become stronger. The effect was unexpectedly good. As time passed, Zhao Feng would be able to absorb a wisp of god Tribulation Lightning every few days. On top of that, he used the 10,000 divine thoughts technique to multitask. Absorbing the god Tribulation Lightning to refine his soul intent was part of his daily cultivation. Zhao Feng's other intents focused on the Wind Lightning inheritance and the wings of wind and lightning. In the blink of an eye, 3 to 4 months had passed. Within the captain's room, the aura that Zhao Feng occasionally gave off became more and more terrifying. In the purple soul scene, Zhao Feng absorbed 70 to 80 wisps of god Tribulation Lightning, which was 20 to 30 times more than when he was at the pirate sacred land. A total of 78 wisps of god Tribulation Lightning. 78 wisps of god Tribulation Lightning appeared in Zhao Feng's purple soul sea. The divine Tribulation Lightning was shapeless and immaterial, and it possessed an eternal and domineering aura that looked down upon all things in the world. He observed closely. There were 78 ancient symbols of lightning in the purple soul sea. They gave off a faint dark light and were connected to each other like electric circuits. Zhao Feng circulated the 10,000 divine thoughts technique, and his soul power affected 70 to 80 wisps of god Tribulation Lightning. Some god Tribulation Lightning particles flowed and refined his soul. At the same time, Zhao Feng started to comprehend the laws of the god Tribulation Lightning and merged them into the crystal core in his dantian. The surging True Yuan dimension within the crystal core started to contain the aura of god Tribulation Lightning that countered all lightning. Unknowingly, Zhao Feng's comprehension of the Scarlet Destruction Wind Lightning had almost reached 100% completion. The Scarlet Destruction Wind Lightning was like a burning cloud, and it had a faint golden glow on its surface. After the Scarlet Destruction Wind Lightning comes the Golden Wind Lightning. But my power of Wind Lightning has already surpassed the Wind Lightning Emperor's expectations. Zhao Feng murmured in his heart. The aura of the ancient dream realm and the laws of the god Tribulation Lightning had merged into his power, making it exceed the limits of normal lightning. Master! The child demigod's voice suddenly sounded. Zhao Feng opened his eyes and looked at the restless child next to him. It's like this. There are a few strong pirate forces nearby, and I want to take some resources from them. The child demigod said. Zhao Feng scanned the area with his divine sense and found that there were indeed a few pirate forces. Each of them had at least a half-step king. Master, I'll finish this quickly and won't delay the journey. The child demigod begged. Zhao Feng understood that the child demigod needed resources to recover his cultivation. Go. Zhao Feng waved his hand and didn't stop him. He hadn't provided any resources to the child demigod recently, but he couldn't stop him from obtaining resources. The ghost ship didn't slow down at all and continued to fly forward. The only difference was that the child demigod had left the ghost ship. Next, Zhao Feng witnessed a massacre. The pirates didn't even have the ability to fight back against the child demigod. Boom! The golden-skinned toddler, who was 3 or 4 years old, punched out and shattered the entire pirate ship. In just the time it took to make a cup of tea, the child demigod had destroyed several pirate forces all by himself, and Zhao Feng had no idea what was going on. Although the grade of these resources isn't high, it's better than nothing. The child demigod organized the spoils of war. Then, he turned into a ray of golden light and quickly caught up to the ghost ship. The entire process didn't waste any time at all. After this, Zhao Feng didn't stop the child demigod from doing this. However, he warned the child demigod not to be within 10,000 miles of him. In reality, Zhao Feng also lacked resources for his own cultivation. After breaking through to the Void God realm, the resources he needed were even more stringent. The lifespan of Void God realm kings was several thousand years, and every small breakthrough required a large amount of resources. On this day, Zhao Feng entered the ancient dream realm once more. Just like last time, Zhao Feng entered the forest. His target was the spiritual fruits on the tree in the depths of the forest. When Zhao Feng came this time, the number of spiritual fruits on the tree had decreased by a few more. There were more wounds on the python's body. It wasn't hard to guess that there were still some beasts and Yao spirits in the ancient dream realm. Zhao Feng opened his god's spiritual eye and inspected the surroundings. As expected, Zhao Feng saw the ancient Yao bird. There were some scars on its feathers, indicating that its injuries hadn't healed yet. If this continues, there will be fewer and fewer spiritual fruits on the tree. Zhao Feng's eyebrows furrowed as he started to think. He could kill 2 Yao spirits, which wasn't hard for the current Zhao Feng. However, 2/3 of the fruits on the tree were still green and far from ripening. Some of the green fruits didn't even reach 1/10 of their full potential. The one Zhao Feng had eaten last time was a 70% ripe spiritual fruit, but it didn't have the best effect. Soon, a thought appeared in Zhao Feng's mind. Fine, I'll choose you too. Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye scanned over the snake and ancient Yao bird. The 2 primordial demon spirits shivered inexplicably in their hearts. Zhao Feng's first target was the ancient Yao bird. This was because the ancient Yao bird was very agile and had a large range of vision. Zhao Feng was worried that the bird would sneak attack him while he was dealing with the snake. Zhao Feng silently leapt to the edge of the forest, his left eye still locked onto the ancient Yao bird. The ancient Yao bird's heart shook as it felt a sense of danger. It suddenly felt Zhao Feng's enmity and screeched as it leapt over. Scarlet Destruction Eye Flame. A scarlet-colored light flashed in Zhao Feng's left eye, and there was a hint of gold within it. Boom! The ancient Yao bird was caught off guard by a ball of half-transparent scarlet lightning before it even arrived. The Scarlet Destruction Eye Flame contained the essence of the Scarlet Destruction Wind Lightning and the intent of the God Tribulation Lightning. The ancient Yao bird's eyes were filled with stars. Just a single blow from the eye flame had severely burned the ancient demonic bird's soul. Its wings were covered in scorch marks. Dark Heart Seal. Zhao Feng took advantage of the moment the bird's mind was in pain and confusion to use a forbidden soul eye bloodline technique. In the air, the ancient Yao bird struggled for a bit, then stopped resisting and obediently landed in front of Zhao Feng. Success. Zhao Feng smiled faintly. He brought the ancient demon bird with him as he approached the green-spotted python near the towering tree. Sii. The green-spotted python couldn't help but reveal wariness as it saw Zhao Feng and the ancient bird approach. Go! Zhao Feng ordered the ancient Yao bird to go over and deal with the snake. From afar, he launched a sneak attack with a psychic spike to injure the python's mind and successfully cast the Dark Heart Seal. Just like that. The 2 rulers within the forest were successfully enslaved by Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng ordered the Yao bird and the snake to guard the tree and not let any living beings get close. 28 in total. Zhao Feng counted and found that there weren't many spiritual fruits left. 2/3 of them were unripe, and there were 7 or 8 that were half-ripe. Zhao Feng picked 2 of the spiritual fruits that were 80 to 90% ripe. Zhao Feng then started to search the ancient Yao bird's soul. He wanted to learn more about the ancient dream realm through this bird. Chapter 728. A while later, Zhao Feng withdrew the soul-searching art from his left eye and let out a breath. As he looked at this ancient land, his gaze became somewhat different. There wasn't much information about the ancient dream realm in the bird's memories. It seemed to be the lowest tier of beasts in the ancient dream realm, and it had only just reached this level. The ancient demon bird would only stay in this area for its entire life. The areas further away were even more dangerous. Some of the powerful auras made it not dare to get close. There were indeed some powerful beasts in the ancient dream realm. In the bird's memories, it had met a humanoid race 2 or 3 times. However, the auras of those races were so oppressive that the ancient demonic bird couldn't breathe, even though it was still far away. From the memories, Zhao Feng could feel how terrifying those races were. This ancient dream realm isn't simple. I need to be careful and not advance recklessly. Zhao Feng took a deep breath. At the same time, he was slightly confused. Why was he able to enter this dimension with his left eye? What was the relationship between the ancient dream realm and the owner of the god's spiritual eye? Of course, the most puzzling thing about the ancient dream realm was that Zhao Feng was in sync with this place. It was obvious that Zhao Feng didn't just enter with his consciousness. In the ancient dream realm, Zhao Feng's body was made of flesh and blood, so he could use weapons, including the ancient metal ring. However, Zhao Feng hadn't tried to bring other beings in yet, so he had to find out if it was possible. At the moment, Zhao Feng didn't want to reveal the secret of the ancient dream realm. You guys stay here and guard this place. Before leaving, Zhao Feng gave them some instructions. Shua. In the real world, 2 fruits appeared in Zhao Feng's hands. Without hesitation, he ate a 90% ripe spiritual fruit first. The spiritual fruits in the ancient dream realm were many times more effective than the top spiritual fruits in the real world. However, after reaching the void god realm, one needed to accumulate a large amount of resources to increase their cultivation. Zhao Feng estimated that even if he ate all 28 fruits, he would only be able to push his cultivation to the intermediate empty god realm. And this was under the assumption of maximizing the effects of absorbing the spirit fruit. In the captain's cabin, Zhao Feng revolved his true essence and absorbed the primordial heaven and earth essence qi from the spirit fruit. In the true yuan space of the core, the scarlet true yuan surged violently. After absorbing the energy of the spirit fruit, it boiled like a burning scarlet sea. When one reached the virtual god realm, one's true vitality was almost inexhaustible under normal circumstances. However, in the process of reaching the void god realm, the expansion of his true yuan space and the improvement of his soul intent were still progressing. It would be a long road. Even if Zhao Feng could enter the ancient dream realm, he would only be able to shorten the entire path. 1 month later, Zhao Feng had absorbed 2 spiritual fruits, and his true vitality cultivation had been further consolidated. However, he was still far from reaching the middle stage of the empty god realm. Of course, within the soul sea, absorbing the power of God Tribulation Lightning was like a daily task. Using the power of God Tribulation Lightning to refine it, Zhao Feng's soul became stronger day by day and was slowly approaching the level of an emperor. Apart from that, Zhao Feng didn't stop studying the wings of wind and lightning. Lightning wings flying technique, lightning wings wind flash, wind lightning wings slash. A part of Zhao Feng's consciousness had been studying the lightning wings secret technique and the Death Spirit Lord. After the battle with the Pirate Emperor and the Death Spirit Lord, Zhao Feng had gained a lot of insight into the lightning wings secret technique. Zhao Feng's next goal was the highest level of the lightning wings wind flash, lightning wings spatial flash. In essence, lightning wings spatial flash was the combination of the lightning wings wind flash and the lightning wings flying technique. Under the foundation of the extreme speed of the wind and thunder ultimacy, he used the Thunder Wings escape space secret skill to perform a magical leap across space. Once one comprehended the lightning wings spatial flash, one could travel 1,000 miles in an instant. However, in order to comprehend the lightning wings spatial flash, one had to be able to use the lightning wings flying technique and the lightning wings wind flash well. Zhao Feng was trying to get closer to this goal. Time slowly passed by. Zhao Feng started cultivating on the ghost ship, and he didn't face the pursuit of the death god. This was within Zhao Feng's expectations. Firstly, the Emperor of Death subordinates had all been killed by Zhao Feng. Secondly, Zhao Feng had destroyed the wisp of Eye of Death intent, making it hard to sense it. After becoming a king, Zhao Feng merged more God Tribulation lightning into it, and his 10,000 divine thoughts technique was approaching the level of turning one thought into 1,000. Logically speaking, Zhao Feng should have been able to completely destroy the intent of the Eye of Death. However, Zhao Feng didn't do this. He purposely left behind the last wisp of Eye of Death intent and sealed it completely. Unless the Emperor of Death was right next to him, he wouldn't be able to sense it. Emperor of Death, I've been on the run for many years because of you. I'll definitely pay you back several times over. A thought appeared in Zhao Feng's heart. He had been chased for many years and lived on the border of life and death. If it was anyone else, they would have a hard time releasing their pent-up anger. 9 months after leaving the pirate's sacred land, Weng, a new king's aura rose within the ghost ship. Void God Realm. I've finally reached it. The child demigod's body glowed with a golden light, as if he was a golden Buddha statue. Just the aura radiating from his sacred body made the late-stage Great Origin Core Realm Skeletal Division leader feel suffocated. This demigod Kuan Yun's golden Kuan's sacred body has basically reached the 5th level. Zhao Feng woke up from seclusion. He also had the inheritance of the golden Kuan's sacred body and the even higher golden Kuan's sacred lightning body. Once the golden Kuan's sacred body reached the late stages of the 5th level, he would be unrivaled at the Void God Realm, and it wouldn't be hard for his body to fight against an emperor. His cultivation had broken through to the Void God Realm, and his golden Kuan's sacred body had basically reached the 5th level. Zhao Feng couldn't estimate the battle power of the child demigod. However, there was one thing he was sure of. The child demigod was definitely unrivaled against anyone below emperors, but whether or not he could fight against an emperor remained to be seen. Master, if we team up now, we don't need to be afraid of anyone as long as they aren't peak emperors. The child demigod's voice sounded. Indeed. Now that Zhao Feng and the child demigod had both broken through to the Void God Realm, they were basically unrivaled against anyone below emperors. If the two of them teamed up, they wouldn't need to be afraid of normal emperors. This isn't enough to deal with the Emperor of Death. Zhao Feng shook his head faintly. He wasn't arrogant. Void God Realm emperors were also split into different ranks. The difference between normal emperors and peak emperors was huge. Furthermore, the Emperor of Death was an unrivaled existence amongst emperors, and his battle power was probably close to a mystic light realm sacred lord. Master, I need resources right now. As long as I have enough resources, I can recover my strength even further. The child demigod said bitterly. He was a demigod and could revive from a drop of blood. As long as he had enough resources, he would be able to quickly recover his strength. Zhao Feng remained expressionless. He didn't want to give the child demigod any more resources from the ancient dream realm. He needed to limit the amount of resources he gave the child demigod. If he didn't do so, he might become even more of a threat than the Emperor of Death. I don't have enough resources right now. Zhao Feng shook his head and said, Meow meow. The little thieving cat popped its head out and waved its paws, as if it was also complaining. Master, the cursed ghost corpses have all reached the peak small origin core realm, but we need large amounts of resources to increase their strength. The skeletal division leader said bitterly. Within the ghost ship, a human, a child, a cat, and a skeleton fell into a weird atmosphere. In just one night, the ghost ship was facing a shortage of resources. Not only was it a shortage of resources, Zhao Feng didn't even have much primal crystal stones left. He still needed to leave some primal crystal stones to maintain the ship's flight. The source of this crisis was the Heaven's Legacy Race's city. However, even if Zhao Feng had a second choice, he would still do the same thing. Master, I have a suggestion. The child demigod's eyes flashed as he suddenly said, Suggestion? Don't tell me we're going to rob some island or 2-star sect. Zhao Feng rolled his eyes. Judging from the current resource crisis, even if they looted a few 1-star sects and wiped out dozens of pirate forces, it would be of no use. There was only one reason. Zhao Feng and the child demigod's level was too high, so normal resources were useless against them. Master, I just killed a pirate group and received some information. There are several 2-star sects in the Red Dragon Island zone ahead, and they're fighting. The child demigod licked his lips and had an evil expression that seemed to say, "You know what I mean." When this expression fell on the face of a young child, it was a little strange and added a bit of gloominess. Meow meow. The little thieving cat waved its paws in agreement. It had been so poor recently that it didn't even have food to eat. The skeletal division leader also had an excited and expectant expression. A 2-star battlefield? Zhao Feng's heart shook. A battle between 2-star sects would definitely be huge, and it would involve a lot of resources. If it was in the past, Zhao Feng definitely wouldn't be able to avoid a 2-star battlefield at all costs. But now, the enormous 2-star battlefield was a good place to take advantage of the situation. And let me take a look at the map. With a thought, a screen of ice and water appeared in front of Zhao Feng. The outline of a nearby island zone appeared on the screen. The Red Dragon Island zone that the child demigod mentioned was about 1/5 of the way to the island zone. Zhao Feng continued to look down the map. His gaze passed by another 5 or 6 island zones before Zhao Feng saw the Gon's Sacred Island Zone. The Sky Sacred Qin Palace isn't far. Zhao Feng's heart moved. The Sky Sacred Qin Palace was in one of the Gon's Sacred Island Zone zones. Before he reached the Sky Sacred Qin Palace, it was not a bad choice to get some resources and wealth. Let's go. Zhao Feng himself was impatient, but he didn't know if it was because of the Sky Sacred Qin Palace or because they were getting closer. So, the ghost ship sped up, and it seemed to become excited as it sped toward the Red Dragon Island Zone. At the same time, within the Red Dragon Island Zone, an island zone that was twice the size of the Azure Flower continent, rumble. Boom, boom. Magnificent powers clashed in the sky, and heaven and earth seemed to shake. The mountains and rivers of the island zone started to crumble, and dust billowed. Below were some Origin Core realms. There was a total of 3 2-star sects that were fighting intensely. There were 4 or 5 Void God Realm Kings involved in this battle. They didn't know that 4 uninvited guests were quickly approaching. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.